Hello and welcome to the show. This is such an exciting day, 2025, the beginning of the new golden age of America. I'm Mary Grace, the voice of sanity to help you navigate politics, culture, wellness, faith, and world events. And today I'm coming to you on my channel, the Mary Grace Media channel, to bring you Conspiracy of Truth, episode 23, with my friend Dave, Praying Medic. And we are very excited to talk to you today. As always, I want to remind you that this is a conversation between friends. We are not scripted. We're not doing an interview. It's not a Q&A. We will be talking about a number of topics, and we want to, of course, celebrate this day because we do have a new president and first lady, new but returning. And so we're very excited to have them here. And we are talking about that in today's show. That is why we have titled this Baby, I'm Back. Baby, we're back. And this is an image that I love. It is from the inauguration, the inaugural ball when Trump was doing a little bit of sword play on stage. And he actually cut the cake with a sword, which is a whole another level. Um, so pretty exciting. As you're coming in today, please tell us hello. Tell us where you're coming from. We do want to. I want to learn how to work this. There we go. No, 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 that didn't work. Come on, get your act together. There we go. Back. Um, so as you're coming in, say hello. Always remember that if you missed the notification, it could be that you're not on the email list. Go to marygracemedia.com, get on the email list, and you will get notification before we do these shows. You can also click through to all of my channels from marygracemedia.com. So if you're on the social media, you're looking and looking, you can't find me, go to my website, marygracemedia.com. You will see my social media channels and you can click through to the show from there. And I think that's all of my disclaimers. What else? Anything else, Dave? Did I miss?
We will never message you randomly on social media, on Rumble, on YouTube. I don't even have a YouTube account anymore. On Instagram. I don't use Instagram. On TikTok. I don't have a TikTok account. But I do have accounts on Telegram and Twitter, X, and we will never randomly message you. It's not us. It's a faker. It's a scammer. Do not give them your money. Don't talk to them. And if you're on Telegram and you don't want to get a call from someone pretending to be us, hide your phone number. Go into your settings on Telegram and hide your phone number so random scammers can't call you. There you go. If you need to contact either of us, go to our websites. Contact us through our websites.
Absolutely. Cool? You can do that. Yes. And what's your website, Dave?
PrayingMedic.com or PrayingMedic.org. Either one.
Perfect. Excellent. It looks like we've got a big audience everywhere today. Did you retweet?
Yay.
Did you
I
not?
Did.
You did a regular retweet?
It. Yep.
Okay. And a quote tweet? Did you quote tweet?
Yes, I did. I know how to do this stuff. I'm not exactly new to this.
Well, I mean, you are kind of a boomer, so we just have to make sure.
I can't believe you went there. That just means I have more money than you.
I'm Gen X, so
I'm boomer rich and you're not.
I'm Gen X rich. Okay, so oh my goodness. So that reminds me. Speaking of boomer and Gen X, I was doing an interview the other day with somebody from the VA. They were talking to us about being prepared for like if anything happened because we take care of my dad, right? And they were asking about, if you had an emergency and if you had this or that. And my nephew and I are sitting there. Now he's a millennial, but he's also kind of like in the prepper mindset. And so we were like, oh, are we prepared? Let us talk to you about our water, our backup water. Let's talk to you about our backup food. What do you want to know? What is it that you really want to know about our preparedness in case of emergency? It was really funny. She was like, okay, yeah, you're prepared. It was really funny.
Yeah. My
'Cause
reference to being boomer rich, by the way.
yes.
I stole that from so Denise listens to Grant and Gary Cardone. They do spaces on Twitter, and she's
Oh,
listening to
yeah. Yeah, I love
their
them.
stuff. One of the Cardones the other night, he was doing a space on crypto to talk the crypto bros off the ledge. They're all pissed off because Trump and Melania launched their meme coins,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's all this controversy. And Cardone's like, look, guys, just chill out, man. Just relax. Like, Trump is going to do the right thing, And if you're pissed
Yeah.
off at the boomers, look, you're pissed off at the boomers because they have more money than you. Like, just be like them, and you can get more money. He's like, I'm boomer rich. And I'm like, that is a really good line, although it's not necessarily true for me. Because, well,
Yeah. Well, Grant tells it like it is too. He's
yes, he
he's a
does.
baller. Listen, I'll tell you something about Grant Cardone that a lot of people don't know. I was at his Growth Con in 2022. It was right after my interview with Jack Maxey went viral, and Grant Cardone had Donald Trump there as like the featured guest speaker. And we
Right.
kind of had a feeling it was going to be Trump. And he doesn't announce his speakers. And it's a very expensive conference. Like, the diamond level is like $25,000 seats. I wasn't in the diamond level, but I was saving my money so I could be boomer rich. But anyway, he brought Trump out on stage, and then one of his other high profile guests canceled, like in the
Ooh,
like, and he pays for them to come, like, they were
right.
probably already in the hotel, and they were so butthurt that he had brought Trump out that they canceled. And
What? Really?
yeah, they were
He didn't want to be upstaged by Trump.
they were so offended that Grant Cardone had brought Trump. And the thing about Grant Cardone is, I mean, it was pretty classy, because you could tell that they were scrambling, that they were changing the agenda
The lineup, yeah,
somehow. Yeah, but he never said, he never said who it was, right?
right.
And he gave them the ability to save face, basically. So I don't know
And
who it
that's
was.
that's being a gracious presenter and host.
Yeah, yeah. So, so that was interesting. And he's definitely a very successful entrepreneur, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I just thought that was a kind of a classy way to handle what happened. And it was a good interview. It was like a round table interview. And I actually recorded the whole thing, even though technically you weren't supposed to. So I actually, yeah. But anyway, I didn't put it on the
Anyway,
internet, but maybe I will. Okay, so
so we have a new
uh,
president.
we have a new president. I'm so excited. So excited. Has everybody been on whitehouse.gov? Because if you haven't, let me do a screen share, because this was up on the White House website like instantly. And it was so exciting, because it's our president. And here we go. So this is what we got now. Very exciting. America is back. 47. And then you've got all of his executive actions. Look at that. First lady. Oh, so excited. So we're going to be going through some of the things on the website today, but I wanted everybody to see this because it's such a nice cleansing and refreshing of what we were dealing with the past 4 years. I mean, whew, golly. Speaking of the past 4 years, before we go any further, I will say that there are a couple of the January 6th hostages that Trump pardoned and commuted are still not released, and
Right.
the DC jailers are playing some reindeer games, and I think they're going to get to the FO part of FAFO if they keep this up.
Yep.
So we'll see how that comes out. But please pray for these people and their families, because it's very serious, and there's some speculation that they're being physically abused, and that they're going to be moved in the dark of night, if they haven't already, to hide the fact that they were roughed up and physically harmed. So we need to,
On that note,
yeah,
James Comer, okay, he's chair of the House on the committee that's investigating government corruption. They are launching a new investigation of the treatment of J6 inmates. I call them prisoners of war. That's
yes,
just my
yes,
thing.
yeah,
He has put out a thing on Twitter telling the J6ers, get ready for subpoenas because they're coming and they're going to have them all come in and testify about
good.
what happened to them while they were detained, the
Hmm.
legal process, their deprivation of rights, all that. I think we're going to get to the bottom of this.
I do too, and I think I'm glad that you said prisoners of war because I agree, and I think I'm very glad that Trump calls them hostages instead of prisoners. But here's something I was thinking because I really believe that these individuals and their families need to be made whole. And I don't know how I think financially they need to be made whole. And I was thinking about this, and I feel as though there's I think if it were me, if it were up to me, I would give them the I would give them combat veteran status. I would somehow
Interesting.
create a special category of benefits for them and their families as though they were prisoners of war.
Yeah,
And
POWs.
right? And
Yeah.
that they would have the benefits, the financial, the medical, all of the benefits that a combat veteran gets. Because this is
I would not oppose that. I think it's a
right.
good idea.
Yeah, I think we should actually put this. I want to get this up the chain to President Trump. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
anybody's
Well,
listening, yeah,
Harmeet Dillon is taking over the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ.
okay.
Okay,
So yeah, she
and a
follows
lot of
me. I'll
these,
get a
I
message to her.
I think we're going to see class action lawsuits
Yes.
filed against the Bureau of Prisons and all of the corruptocrats that were involved in this hoax,
Hmm.
and they're going to be paying out a lot of money in damages.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think they should. And what's his name? Mike Davis told all of them they better lawyer up. And
Yep. Yeah.
he's and that was for the stuff they did to Trump, but also by extension to all of the J6 POWs. So I don't think Trump's going to let this go. And then of course we have people like Bevelyn, what's her last name? Bevelyn, the pro-life activist, the black lady.
Oh yeah,
What's
yeah,
her
yeah,
last name? She's the
yeah.
one who was painting over the Black Lives Matter mural during the Summer of Love, and she was out there saying baby lives matter, and she got arrested, and so she just got out yesterday. Thank
Yep.
God. Beverlyn, I think is her name. She has
Very,
a
very emotional reunion. I saw the
yeah.
video.
Yeah, her baby. Yeah. So praise God for that. But some of these commutations and pardons were for pro-lifers, in addition
Right.
to J6ers. It wasn't just J6ers. I wasn't clear on that in the beginning, but now I get it. And I think there's more coming. And there's a couple that have fallen through the cracks that they're trying to get attention, bring attention to them. So continue in prayer for these people. Um, I I will admit that I have felt a a strong sense of relief, and I posted about this on X and Facebook because I didn't really talk about it, but I've spent 4 years going to bed every night expecting the FBI to be at my door at 6 o'clock in the morning, just like they did to a lot of the J6ers. So I'm grateful that we are, through that part of it. I believe we are. I pray that we are. And I'm in a state with a good governor and a good attorney general. So I don't anticipate having my state law enforcement come after me. But continue to pray for me and for the other million people that were there that day who didn't get a visit from the feds. I believe that we're out of the sites, but I continue to pray and believe for God's veil of protection over me and invisibility and all those other people. So, next topic. I think first of all, does everybody feel just this sigh of relief? Like,
Yeah.
who, raise your hand. Let me see in the chat. Who was glued to the TV all day Monday? Who couldn't, who was glued to the TV? I had multiple channels on. I recorded it on multiple networks. Um, yeah, I mean, between Melania's fashion show and then just the all of the festivities and the relief of just having them back and knowing that America's coming back, and like watching Trump sit there and um uh sign the executive orders in real time. I mean, that was
And having him watching him have casual conversations with the press in the
yeah,
Oval Office while
yeah,
he's signing the executive orders. I mean, it's just it's crazy how good it
yeah.
feels right now to watch that man at work.
He's
I feel like
back.
a massive burden has been lifted off me. Denise is
Yeah,
like a new person. She's very hopeful and optimistic.
yeah, exactly.
And I know a
Yeah.
lot of people feel the same way.
And watching him, I mean, it's a master class in communication and leadership and stand-up comedy. And pretty much
Trolling.
if you want to learn how to be a better person, just, don't watch Netflix this year or for the next 4 years. Don't watch Amazon. Don't watch any of that. Just turn on all of the President Trump press briefings and roundtables. I'm not kidding. Watch all of them and you will learn and grow as a person if you start taking notes and paying attention to who he is and how he talks to people. I mean, the press conference last night or the roundtable last night in LA,
Man,
total.
he just took that Karen Bassett, Los Angeles mayor, and just face planted her in front of her constituents on
Yeah,
national television. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, it was
It,
masterful.
it reminded me of the old time cartoons, when when the villain gets slapped and their head spins around like 8 times, and then they come to a stop, and then they get slapped on
Oh
the other
man.
side, and this little bobblehead. That's what I kept seeing every time she opened her mouth. He was like, and then, and then, you know, what was the little dog, Pokey, the one that like comes up and doesn't know what hit him? That was Karen Bass, and all of her compatriots.
Yeah.
And thank God Rick Grinnell was sitting there with him, because Rick is going to follow the money trail. That, I think, obviously that's the condition on which they get any money, is that they have a custodian over all of the money, and that's going to be Rick Grinnell.
Did you hear what Trump said when he got off the plane?
In Vegas or
About what hit Los Angeles?
yes, yes. Okay, let's tell everybody, because a lot of people might have missed that. It was pretty
Okay.
late.
I think he was talking to Newsom when he first got off the plane, after making Newsom wait around for like 10 or 15 minutes, nervously pacing on the tarmac, wondering when Trump was going to come out. Trump then comes out and says, "Boy, did you see everything? It looks like a bomb hit Los Angeles." And then he was talking to somebody else, and he said, "What do you think about the devastation? Doesn't it look like something hit here? Like, we're not going to talk about what it was that hit here, but boy, it's just really remarkable." He's
Yep.
dropping these little clues, like something hit the area that was not natural. All right. And if
Yep.
you've been following Trump since 2016, he is signaling to us something that the public doesn't know about, that we're probably going to hear about in the future. Maybe a directed energy weapon, something I don't know, but he was hinting that there's something unnatural about the way those fires happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Good, because we've been called conspiracy theorists for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Direct energy weapons. Yep. So it's so exciting, and I know we're kind of all over the place right now, but just indulge us because
Yeah.
it's, it's we've been in the trenches for a long time, Dave and I. And I mean, it's just so awesome. And here's another thing about Newsom. Like, who goes dressed like that to meet the president? If I were Trump, I would have made him wait longer just because of that outfit. I mean, he couldn't even put on a blazer. Come on, he's the governor. Don't tell
I
me
know.
he couldn't have gotten one of his assistants to bring him a blazer. You
I
know,
know.
totally, total disrespect. Total disrespect. Um, but anyway, yeah. So, uh, but I'm excited. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the next 4 years. Like literally, I'm not even kidding. The only media I'm going to be watching is Trump. I mean,
Trump TV,
yeah,
24/7.
I may watch a show now. No, who am I kidding? I'm not watching any shows. I'm not. I'm okay. In the fall, I may watch football. I might but it was pretty bad this year, so I don't know. Um, so can you tell I'm kind of excited? I really
Yeah,
am. I'm very
Trump
excited.
is entertaining. Yeah, Trump is entertaining enough for me. He's all the entertainment I need. Just watching that guy work the crowds, work his enemies, use leverage, uh, drop clues along the way about
Yep.
what's coming on. Like there's so much we're going to see. And so real quick, Pete Hegseth was confirmed last night as Secretary of Defense, as most of us know by now. Kristi Noem was confirmed this morning as Secretary of Homeland Security.
Yes.
And in this week ahead of us, so Monday, Tuesday,
Mhm.
Wednesday, there's going to be more hearings. We've got Kash Patel coming up
Okay.
29th or 30th, depending on which source you listen to. Chuck
Mhm.
Grassley, I think, said that he's actually looking forward to Kash's hearing on the 30th. We've
Okay.
got Pam Bondi. She's
Okay.
coming up. We've got actually all the secretary candidates, but the big ones that we're looking into, that we're looking forward to, Tulsi Gabbard and all those people. 29th and 30th is going to be the time when most of those confirmation hearings are going on. So you'll want to tune in to that, especially if you follow the 17th letter of the alphabet, because I guarantee you, people like Dick Durbin are going to be bringing up Q during
Yes.
Kash Patel's. Uh, Durbin was bringing it up about Kash talking about Q during Pam Bondi's interview in the Senate. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is interesting. So we're talking about Q already, and it's not even Kash's turn to be in the hot seat.
Yeah,
It's
that was
going to
very
get
interesting.
it's going to get interesting when they go
Yep.
before have their actual
Yeah. Yeah.
confirmation hearings.
I think too, I have a feeling that I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're going through all of the all of the podcasts. Right? They're looking
Yours
at
included. Yeah.
yeah, mine included. They're looking at my interviews that I did. Here we go. There's our guy Cash. Um, so we have interviewed Cash here on the show. If you want to see those interviews, they are up on Rumble, they're up on Facebook. You can go back and listen to those. I did ask him directly about Q, and his responses were quite interesting. It's definitely worth going back. It's a couple. It's let's see. Delia was looking for it. She said you have to go all the way back on Rumble, but you can search Rumble if you go on my page, you can go in the search bar and search my shows on Rumble and find him. But I would go back and watch those interviews with Cash leading up to these hearings because it's going to give you some basis and a foundation for understanding some of the questioning. Because we've talked about his books. We've talked about his Government Gangsters book. They are going to be referencing that. And if you haven't read that book, I do recommend you get it. It's available on audio as well as print and digital. It's really going to be worth doing your homework on Cash Patel because he is obviously a key player, and he has been one of Trump's key closest advisors for the past 4 years, and he was also the chief of staff of the DoD. He was Trump's last chief of staff of the DoD prior to the stolen,
He
whatever you call
was
it.
he was also acting assistant director national intelligence under Rick
Oh,
Grinnell,
okay.
which gave him access to the Epstein client list and all the other
Yes.
stuff that's out there. And Cash has said it's all getting declassed on day one. As soon as he gets sworn in, it's all coming out.
And Cash is the one
So
who wants to close down the FBI building and turn it into a deep state museum.
literally
So,
said, Deep State Museum, take these people, go out there. You got guns and badges, go arrest, the bad guys. You don't need to
yeah,
be here in DC
exactly.
spying on a duly elected president. I
Exactly,
mean,
exactly. And,
it's going to be different under Cash. Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be very different, and speaking of intel, I want to I don't think we could go any further without talking about Melania. And
Okay.
she's gonna come into the conversation today, but it's becoming very clear that now that her son is off to school, and he's playing a bigger part, he's played a huge part in the campaign, that Melania is more free to be, working alongside her husband. And clearly, she made a splash, a huge splash on, Inauguration Day. And then yesterday, she was with President Trump out in North Carolina, his first stop as his first domestic trip was to our friends in North Carolina, which, really brings tears to my eyes because you guys know that I have been focusing on this, that I have been bringing attention to it. We screened a documentary on this a few weeks back. Uh, I have family down there. I'm not far from where all of this happened. And my niece lives there, and it's a miracle of God that her house did not wash away and that she was not one of those uh, swept away in the floodwaters. So it's kind of a big deal to me what has been done. And so, Trump and Melania went down there, and Melania has done us all a massive favor by bringing the absolute fashion and class back to the White House. Get just everybody, just let me know, how refreshing is this? How amazing is it that we have this ray of sunshine? I mean, hello. Anybody know? Did you guys get a good look at her boots yesterday? If you didn't, hold on a second. Dave is indulging me. I already
I
told
did
him we're
not
going to
get
do
to
this.
see her boots yesterday.
Well, all right, that's okay because you're going to see them right now.
All
Um,
right.
we're looking at her boots. I think we have a picture of them here. Um, oh, we don't. Sorry, wrong picture. I'm
After
just going to
after
tell you.
looking at after looking at Jill Biden for four
Look at
years
this.
wearing tablecloths and curtains for clothing, Melania is
Look
like,
at
oh my
this.
gosh, holy
Look at
cats!
this.
Melania is literally channeling Sarah Connor from the Terminator movies.
Absolutely. Yeah, anyway, she was wearing a pair it was she was wearing, they look like Doc Martens, but they were Prada combat boots. And
Yeah.
if you want to tune in to some of the fashion updates for Melania, the FLOTUS report on X is pretty good.
All
Um,
right, hang on.
all right.
We cannot segue away from Melania and
Okay.
her fashion statement until we talk about the hat comms.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the hat comms. Okay.
The hat comms. All right. So it's not obvious to the casual observer what is going on with Trump's family. If you're just a normie who's living in normie land and doesn't pay attention to the stuff, you're going to completely miss the subtle communication that the Trump family has been putting out for 8 years. They've been doing it and they continue to do it. And you just have to have a little bit of a perspective of when they wear that thing, are they sending a message? Like, it looks like they're sending a message with that little fashion statement. So I have never seen Ivanka Trump wear a hat
Okay.
ever. And I've seen hundreds of pictures of Ivanka Trump. And she shows up at the inauguration wearing a freaking green beret.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, hang on. she's wearing a green kind of a full length dress, but the green beret. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's signaling to us about the green berets, the military. To me, I see a green beret. I think, oh, that's a signal about the
Mhm.
military. Melania wears this hat, this wide brim hat, and some of the Anons are like, oh, I know where I saw that hat before. That is the hat from V for Vendetta. And I was like, yep,
Yeah.
that's the hat. So uh yeah, you got the picture there. If you, I don't know if you want to make that full screen to so people can see it
Okay.
better.
Yeah, let's see it.
But Melania's got that
That's
wide
as
brim
big as I
hat,
could get it.
and it's just almost the same look as the hat V for Vendetta.
Yep. Yep.
Now,
Yep.
here's a little more comms going on. So at the inauguration, Eric Trump comes over, takes his place next to his wife, doing one of these things with his
Oh,
hand.
hold on. I have that. Hold on. Hold on. I got it. I got it.
and,
Wait, 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 wait,
and,
wait.
and Laura catches him doing it and smacks him.
I know. I know. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get it. I saved it.
Is it still, or is it the video?
It is, I think I've got the video. Let me see. I put
Okay.
it on the Facebook and people were like
All right.
kind of mad at me.
So
Um,
here,
keep talking.
this is Eric Trump trolling trolling the Illuminati specifically, because the little pyramid symbol, that's an Illuminati hand signal, and you can find hundreds of pictures of Angela Merkel sitting there talking to people at various events, and she's doing the little Illuminati, or sometimes it's upside down triangle like that. They do this all the time. Q says their need for symbolism will be their downfall. These people are always throwing out symbols of their power structure. And so Eric Trump was doing a little trolling back, and he did the little Illuminati thing there, right there at the inauguration. Like I said, Laura Trump catches him, smacks him, and he's like, "Okay, sorry, Mom, I'll behave myself."
Father lent quite heavily on. We're
There it
seeing
is.
the whole Trump clan there now. Pretty much all of them, apart from Ivanka, Don.
Hold on.
There you go.
All right. I'm gonna play it
Father
again.
lent quite heavily on. We're seeing the whole Trump clan there now. Pretty much all of them, apart from Ivanka, Don.
Laura's like,
She knew what he was doing, and he knew what he was doing, and he got busted. But if you look at the Trump family, they are sending out communication to us about their
Yes.
intentions in very subtle ways. For people like us, it's entertaining and amusing because we get it, and like 99% of the population, they have no idea what's going on. So
Yep. Yeah. And if you have been okay, Honeybee on Rumble, we got to go back to the boots. Honeybee found the boots. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. The boots. Everybody needs those boots. Okay, let's get back to the comms.
do I need those boots?
Well, they're combat boot. They're Prada combat boots. I'm just saying.
All right.
There's a message there. So, all right, let's go back to what Eric was doing. Eric has been on the Reawaken tour with General Flynn and Clay Clark. And so if you think that he doesn't know what the Illuminati is, then you haven't been paying attention. So this was not coincidental that he was doing this, that he was trolling them. 100% he was trolling them. Yeah.
Yep.
So
100%. 100%.
Yep.
And
yep.
I wasn't even following Don Jr. because Don is a much bigger troll than Eric is. Eric is pretty subdued. So, you could probably go back through the videos and see Don doing his own thing too.
Well, listen, we have to give Don a big shout out, because when Trump was set up in that so-called church service the day after the inaugural prayer thing at the cathedral, with that Church of Satan lesbian that's disguised as a bishop. Yeah. So she was when she started, in on Trump, and you can see the front row, you can see them kind of like looking and making faces, and everybody's body language was evident. Well, Don Jr., to his credit, he was sitting in the third row like this. And all I could think was, like, if
Stone faced.
these are the thought bubbles in Don Jr.'s head. Jesus, take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel. Please help me not to throat punch this. Jesus, take the wheel. Not going to say it. The words aren't going to come out. I'm not going to throat punch her. I'm sitting on my hands. Jesus, take the wheel. That was Don Jr. right at that moment, because he is never that subdued. I mean, he was just like, go back and look at the video. People have forgotten about him because he was in the third row and he wasn't moving at all. But that's why he was absolutely, like, he put a self-induced straitjacket on himself because he knew what
Yeah.
he was capable of.
Well, you know, Denise and I were having this conversation last night over some sourdough pizza that I made for her.
Oh,
Uh, yes. So my wife, who is gluten intolerant, I'm just going to do a little promotion here for sourdough. We found out that if I bake with Italian flour that doesn't have glyphosate and all the other toxins and herbicides
not
and pesticides
bromated.
and stuff,
No, not bromated.
she's had gluten intolerance for like 15 years, and it's not actually gluten that has problems with. It's the toxins in the wheat here in the United States. A lot of people have found out if you buy Italian flour or French flour, any flour from Europe, you don't have those problems. So I've made her some baguettes from Italian flour. She has no problems. So I bought some sourdough starter because I love to bake.
Did you name your starter? Some people name their starter.
I did not name my starter yet, but I got the starter. I got it going. I've been feeding it. And after I got a pretty large bowl full of starter, I was like, hey, honey, it's time to make some food. So I made a sourdough crust pizza last night for her, and it turned out really, really good. And she had no reaction to it. But we're sitting around talking.
That's awesome.
And we were talking about self-control and about, specifically, we're actually talking about profanity and the use of profanity on social media, and how Donald Trump Sr. has really well demonstrated the fact that you can use profanity in social settings, provided that you do it rarely and this occasion in which you do it is appropriate. So every once in a while at a rally, you'll hear Trump throw out, well, this is bullshit, or he'll drop an F-bomb, but he doesn't do it all the time. He only does it strategically, and he only does it in certain places when it's appropriate. And so we were talking about this last night because a lot of people on social media that we listen to, unfortunately, they just throw out F-bombs all the time. They're just constantly using profanity. Yes, some of these people are very funny. They're witty. They haven't said, but they're just nothing but profanity all the time.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like that. It's just not our thing. We just don't like people using profanity all the time.
I don't either.
And I said, what it comes down to is it's an issue of self-control. If someone who can rein in those kind of more base influences, those more kind of carnal, I guess the biblical word would be your carnal desires, your carnal influences, your just desire to want to throat punch somebody, to curse them out, to throw a bunch of F-bombs at them and get in their face. Don Jr. at that church service exercised great self-control in saying nothing, no facial expressions, no nothing. He just knew this is the time for me to just sit there and
this was Don Jr.
Suck it up and get through it. And Donald Sr. did the same thing. JD Vance got out of character a little bit. He was doing some eye rolls and some side eye stuff.
Yeah, Eric Trump was like this. Eric Trump was like,
yeah. It is a credit to this family that they do exercise self-control to the degree that they do, with all the attacks, with all the idiocy they have to put up with people in their face doing this kind of crap, I think they exercise self-control to a great degree, and that's to their credit.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now, listen, you opened a can of worms when you talked about this flour, and so now we're going to have to go back to this because I have a lot of questions and I can't answer them all.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. Howard Duck on Rumble says 100% put a guard over your mouth. That's from Proverbs. So back to the flour. Let's talk about it. I know that there's like something called 00. You know what? Can you
Yeah.
go get your flour? Can you
Yeah,
go
yeah,
get
yeah.
it and just show it to
Can I go
everybody?
get it? No, I can't get
Yeah.
it. But I posted it on my Telegram.
Oh, okay.
I'm purchasing a flour. You can go on Amazon too. It's called Caputo, Caputo. It's an old world Italian flour. It's 00, so that's a very finely ground flour. Really good for
Pizza flour.
bread and yeah, pizza crust bread. It's from Italy. It's relatively inexpensive if you buy a large quantity of it. I buy it. It comes in a 1 kilo. Let's say it comes in a 1 kilo bag. 1 kilo is 2.2 pounds, and you can buy it off of Amazon. You can buy 10 bags for $34.
Okay.
So it's relatively inexpensive. It's $3.50 a bag for 2 pounds, 1 kilo, and it's very good. It comes very quickly. Like I said, I'm not like overdosing Denise on carbs because we want to watch our carb input. However, every once in a while, she likes to have a nice loaf of crusty bread and a nice pizza, and this sourdough. Sourdough is actually really easy to do. I'd never done it before, but I just got some starter, followed the instructions. You put 1 part starter, 1 part flour, 1 part wheat. You let them marinate for a day or so. It gets all bubbly, and the next day you add as much. And here's Denise. She's got the flour.
Here we go.
Hey,
I knew it was going to come through for
Denise
us.
is there. She's got the flour.
Okay.
It's Caputo.
Nice.
It's
Perfect.
2.2 pound bag. Like I said, we get it on Amazon. Thanks, baby.
And the good thing is it's unenriched. And here's something that I've learned.
It's not bleached. It has no preservatives. It's not enriched. It's just stone ground 00. So it's a very finely ground flour, and we really like it. And I am digging it, getting back in a swing of getting to bake again, because I used to bake a lot. I enjoy baking. I don't want to be 300 pounds, but it's nice to have a loaf of bread once in a while or something. And like I said, if you have gluten intolerance, or even if you have celiac, some people in my Telegram channel have said they have celiac and they can eat flour that comes from Italy and they have no problems with it.
Here's one thing I know about the flour. So the unenriched is key. It doesn't say unenriched, but when you're buying breads or anything in the US or any flour, if it says enriched wheat flour, that means it's conditioned with bromine. And that is not bromelain, bromide.
Bromide. Yeah.
That
Potassium bromide.
That is what is harmful to the thyroid. So anybody with any autoimmune condition is affected by that. Before they started using that, they used iodine to condition flour. And there's a whole history behind it, but the Europeans are not using that. And you can find some foods in the US now, some pastas like Rao's pasta, RAOS, is made with it just says wheat flour. It's not enriched. Costco sometimes has breads in their bakery area that are made with just flour. And so when you check the ingredients, look for that. If you see the word enriched, just put it down, walk away. If it says flour or wheat flour or stone ground wheat flour, as far as I understand, it is really, that's safe. That's the same thing. Now, I was following a thread on X where people were talking about this, and there's one company out of Canada that is milling their flour sort of on the daily. And it's 1847 Stone Milling. Here it is. Here's a picture of it. So you can look that up. 1847. That's the flour, because there's a whole bunch of conversations happening around this because people are getting more aware now that we're moving into the MAHA agenda. Hopefully, this is going to become the standard in the US. And, I think a lot of these childhood allergies and food allergies will go away.
Yeah, well, and RFK has his confirmation hearing coming up, and he is going to be attacked. It's coming. Just get ready for it, because big pharma and the powers that should not be, they do not want RFK coming in to Health and Human Services. And by the way, since we're on the subject of this, Trump put out an executive order freezing all external communications for National Institutes of Health, I think,
saw
Food
that.
and Drug Administration, and all of the big agencies. They're not allowed to put out any external communication until RFK Jr. is in and has his people in place. And I think that's because Trump understood that they wanted to launch another pandemic, probably of the bird flu type.
Yeah.
And Trump, that's not happening. He shut down all communication. Same thing with the Pentagon. All military accounts on social media are not allowed to post any social media posts until Hegseth is in and has his people in, because they know that rogue people in these agencies can create all kinds of pandemonium and chaos and through their messaging on social media. And Trump's like, that's not happening. We are going to control this and make sure we're putting out the right messaging. And that's been happening on a lot of different agencies where they're either just shutting them down, like, you are not communicating to the public until we have our people in. So zip it.
Well, and what's funny is that all the big pharma shills and the big government shills are panicking on X. They're like, this is so irresponsible. What if we have another pandemic? How is anybody going to know? And
how can we destroy the country and destroy the economy if you won't let us launch another pandemic? That's not fair. That's authoritarian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're shutting you up. We're muzzling you. So it's just it's so funny because they show their true colors. It's just crazy. So thank you for that demonstration and those the information about the sourdough. That's awesome. And we do need to pray for the confirmation for RFK Jr. because they're going to try to drag him through the mud. He's already been canceled, but he has a very clear mandate that he truly believes is from God, and so he's not stopping. They're not going to stop him, which is very refreshing. And I believe the same thing about Trump too. And I think that's how they're able to come past differences that they may have, is because they both really believe in the mandate that they have that's higher than either one of themselves. I think it's good. So all right, we have a whole side discussion about food, which is good. We've got a lot going on about food. Okay, this is a random comment on Rumble from Howard Duck, one of my regular listeners. Cocaine Mitch needs purple hair.
God, Mitch McConnell, that guy.
He's the John McCain of this administration.
He is the John McCain of this congressional session, unfortunately.
Yeah. And for anybody who was surprised, don't be.
Yeah. I think RFK is going to be the biggest battle. I think there's going to be a battle over Cash. There's going to be a battle over Tulsi. There's a lot of people who do not want Tulsi coming in at ODNI because they know that she is going to probably take a wrecking ball to the surveillance state, and they are terrified. And I don't get this because members of Congress, both in the House and Senate, have had the CIA spying on them for about a decade at least. They're victims of the intelligence community and the surveillance community spying on them. And yet they're still terrified of neutering the surveillance state that is spying on them. I don't understand that. If anyone would be in favor of cutting back the powers of the surveillance state, you would think it would be members of Congress, but that's not how they are. They like things the way they are. Yeah. And I think Tulsi's in for a battle. I think she'll probably get confirmed, but we may see JD Vance up there voting to break these ties. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we have to remember that pretty much everybody in Congress is under some type of financial purse strings, bribery, blackmail, that type of thing from big pharma, big
ag,
big defense industrial complex,
big tech. Yeah, they're most of them are getting they're getting a lot of financial support from some industry that is controlling them.
Yeah, true. Big food, that's a big one. So that's important. Now, speaking of Congress, I think we should talk about Trump's executive orders and the meaning behind some of those. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll switch over and come back and talk about that. We've almost been talking an hour here, Dave. So listen, this is a good time to talk about food. I'm just going to segue right from bread to beef, because we've got a great sponsor this month. We've got our friends over at griddownchowdown.com. This is freeze-dried beef. This is true apocalypse food, guys. If something goes wrong and you want real nutrition, you need beef, okay? None of this sawdust that they call food in the form of refined carbs. You want actual beef. This is not jerky. It's freeze-dried. You add water. And this month, our friends at Grid Down Chowdown are giving a special offer, and that is if you do their subscription, so that's the monthly or bi-monthly or whatever you choose. If you do the 24 serving subscription, you're going to get 4 free servings, which is awesome. You got to make sure you mention Mary Grace. So scan the QR code, go to the website, griddownchowdown.com. You're also helping to save American farmland when you buy from them. This is an amazing product. This is a whole pound of ground beef. And so, Dave, if you're wanting to put some meatballs on your pizza or something like that, you can just whip out a package of this freeze-dried beef. You reconstitute it with water, and it's regular ground beef like you would buy from the store, but it's way better because it's grass-fed, grass-finished, grown in the USA. So let's run our ads here. We're going to introduce you to these guys, and then we'll show you a couple more ads. Please remember that when you purchase from these America First companies, you are directly supporting the Mary Grace show. And that's how we pay the bills and keep the lights on and that kind of thing, the internet. We'll be right back. Don't turn the volume down. If you need to take care of any personal business or refreshments, you can do that, but don't go away too far. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Jordan, and this is my brother. And I'm Nace, and we're at the Grid Down Chowdown. And this is Larry, who is a local rancher that we've partnered with. Now, Larry, you've been ranching for over 4 generations, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm 3rd generation, my son's 4th generation, and I've got some grandkids that are 5th generation.
Man, that's awesome.
We've been here for quite a while, yeah.
All right, now, Larry, your cattle is grass-fed, grass-finished, and pasture-raised, just like God intended them to be.
Yes, because I want to know what's in that animal.
Right.
What it's been fed. And so the only way to do that is for us to keep it all natural, just like God has done it for years and years and years, thousands of years.
How has partnering up with us helped you and your ranch?
Well, it's allowed us to develop a market that we didn't have before. one that can get directly to the consumer, and that's great.
And just remember, more importantly, with every package that you buy, we put a salvation track in there. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for allowing us to do what we believe that God has us here to do. And just remember, God loves you. He really does.
Amen.
Go to griddownchowdown.com. Americans spend more now than ever on healthcare, and we're sicker than almost anybody in the world. We've put our trust in a system that's completely let us down. Dr. Troy Sproul and the team at Synapse Center for Health and Healing have changed all that. They are a functional medicine clinic, and they get to the root cause of what's made you sick in the first place. Once they do that, they give you solutions to help you get out of that. This is the way that medicine was meant to be practiced, and this is what they're doing. They're changing the entire system from the inside out, one person at a time, and you could be one of those people. And so when you're working with the team at Synapse, they're giving you solutions and not just prescriptions. That's a game changer for me. When you set up a free discovery call with Synapse, you're starting on a journey of healing. You're starting on a journey of getting answers. And that's why I've partnered with them, because I want you to be healthy. I want your family to be healthy. I want you to have all of the resources that you need to steward the body and the health that God's given you. Go to officialsynapse.com and tell them Mary Grace sent you. That's Official Synapse, SYNAPSE.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented MyPillow. MyPillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King MyPillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic MyPillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more.
Okay, I love my pillow. I do. I love it. And it's always when you go there, mypillow.com, promo code Mary Grace. And I want to remind everybody that they have sheets, towels, and they actually even have clothing, socks, pajamas, slippers, pretty much everything you need, and pet beds. People love their pet beds. And I want to thank everybody in my audience who has been purchasing from them. We've had incredible sales in the month of December, and let's keep that going in January. A lot of people have been buying from them, and I really want to thank everybody for that. Also, with the Grid Down Chowdown, when it comes to our friends over at Synapse, please make sure that you're reaching out to them as well, because this is super important. Everybody needs to get their health in order, and I gotta say, put your own oxygen mask on first, and be proactive and start to have a shift in the way that you think of your health. Dr. Troy said that my listeners are some of the most educated and motivated when it comes to working with them and taking initiative with your health. And he's very impressed with all of my audience. You guys are awesome. So give yourselves a pat on the back. Call them. Go to officialsynapse.com and use promo code Mary Grace. You get a free discovery call to see if it's the right fit for you. All right, so here we go. We're back, and we've got with us today Praying Medic, and I'm Mary Grace. This is the Mary Grace Show. This is the second hour, and God only knows how long we're going to go, but we're having a great conversation. Somebody on Rumble said, man, that hour went fast. And it's absolutely right. Colorado Granny on Rumble says, slippers from MyPillow are awesome. 4 pairs thus far. The pillows are wonderful. I couldn't agree more. All right. Let's talk about executive orders, shall we?
Okay.
All right. We know, um, I my feeling about executive orders is that they're not ideal, but that they are an important stopgap to stop the bleeding. Just like
Right.
sending the military to the border, because, if you take people out and you don't stop the border, you don't shut the door, they're gonna come right back in, and it's just like Jesus says in the Bible, you cast out the demons and you don't shut the door, they're gonna come in 7 times as hard. Similar.
Right.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts about the executive orders, and which ones stand out to you right now?
Okay. Well, it's good to have a short discussion about what an executive order is and what it's not. Obviously, an executive order is not a law. It is not part of the legislative code of the United States. Congress passes laws, right? They legislate, they pass laws that have the force of law. They're enforceable by agencies, government agencies, and law enforcement, right? An executive order is not a law. An executive order is a directive to agencies and individuals in the executive branch of government, instructing them to take certain actions, right? It's an executive order. That's literally what it is. It's an order from the chief executive telling some agency, Food and Drug Administration, Health and Human Services, Border Patrol, military, do this, do that, X, Y, and Z. I'm authorizing you to take these steps, spend this money, prioritize this issue, right? It's the president telling his subordinates, I want you to take this action, right? That's all it is. And Trump signed a lot of executive orders in his first administration, and nothing was ever done with them because people in the CIA, people in ODNI, people in NSA, in the military, in the National Security Council, in Department of Justice, ignored his executive orders. They were like, ha ha ha, this guy thinks he's the boss. He doesn't know. We're just going to ignore his executive orders. So Trump didn't get as much done in his first term because he didn't have the right people who would carry out his executive orders, carry out his agenda. The reason why there is so much emphasis right now on Trump firing people who are currently in government, getting rid of them, furloughing them, giving them time off, reassigning them, retasking them, or just muzzling them so they can't say anything, is because the government at large undermined his first term in office, and he is not going to allow that to happen again. So
those are called deep state holdovers. Deep state
those
holdovers.
are deep state holdovers. All right,
Okay.
let me give you an example. Mike Waltz is Trump's national security advisor. National security advisor is the supervisor of the National Security Council. National Security Council is a group of people who are temporarily detailed to the White House from the Pentagon, from the CIA, from NSA, from National Geospatial, all these different government agencies. They will send people to the White House to represent to the White House and give the president advice, information that he needs to make decisions. That's the National Security Council. The National Security Council was responsible for the impeachment hoaxes that Trump underwent during his first administration. If you remember the Vindman brothers. Well, Colonel Vindman was a member of the National Security Council, and he conspired with Adam Schiff to create a fake impeachment hoax, right? So what Waltz has done, what Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, has done this time is he has basically flushed out everybody in the National Security Council who was there during the Biden administration. They're all gone. he is going to go through and personally review every single person who's coming into the National Security Council, right? So there's going to be a lot of vetting going on. It's happening at OMB under Russ Vought. It's happening under all of these different agencies
Okay.
in the government. They're going through and they're doing a wholesale cleaning out of all these deep state holdovers who think they're going to subvert Trump in his second term.
Okay.
Trump's people are very, very tuned in. They've been trained on what to do, how to manage these people, how to get rid of them, how to neutralize the impact that these holdovers have. And so I think we're going to have a much better run at this. Trump getting his agenda through this time.
I think so. And I think, somebody made a good point in the Facebook chat. They said an executive order is not a law, but it can lead into laws that are beneficial. So it can set the groundwork, it can set the stage for that. And that is, of course, depending on who we have in Congress.
Right. So here's an example. Trump issued an executive order creating a new government department of efficiency. Now, a lot of people thought DOGE was just going to be some rug pull, some advisory committee that was just going to make suggestions to the government. But Trump, through executive fiat, literally created a new branch, not a branch, but an agency within the government. And how does this work? This works when the president says, I want to establish a new agency within the government. And if Congress goes along with it and funds it, then there is a new agency within the government. So Trump doesn't have the legislative authority to do this. Now, this is how the FBI was started. The FBI was started when a president decided, we need to have a federal law enforcement agency. We're going to create a federal law enforcement agency. Congress went along with it and decided to fund the FBI. And that's how the FBI was created. It was never legislated. There is no law, congressional law establishing the FBI. DOGE is the same way. Trump created DOGE, and if Congress funds it, it's a government agency.
Interesting. Which explains how we have so much bloat in the government. Right. And I do want to talk about the government in general, in terms of federal workers. Let's get to that in a second. One thing I want to talk about, though, is the DOJ, because I think people are under the impression that nothing is going to happen until Pam Bondi gets confirmed and sworn in, right? But things are actually happening. That there's an acting AG, and that there are members of the DOJ now that are actively working to advance Trump's agenda. Have you been following that?
Yep, I have.
Okay.
So here's an example. Trump has appointed interim U.S. attorneys in the DOJ, including
they call it interim,
an attorney in D.C., for the District of D.C. He has been personally assisting J6ers who are still being detained, right? And there are other people in the Department of Justice. There's John Durham has been appointed as interim U.S. attorney for, I think, Eastern District of New York. He's not the older Durham; it's Durham Jr.
Yeah,
he's been with Eastern District of New York since 2005.
Okay,
he has been reappointed as an interim attorney, and he is working on some very important issues in that district.
Okay,
so it's not like the DOJ has frozen and nothing's happening. There are things happening. There's going to be a big organizational shakeup. Trump has put in assistant attorneys general and various other people who are in the process of getting the DOJ ready for Pam to come in and just start cracking skulls, I think.
Okay. And yeah, I think so too. And I wanted to look, so the acting U.S. attorney for DC right now is a guy named Ed Martin.
Right.
And yeah, so Ed Martin is has played a big part in the Eagle Forum, And so he's very conservative. And I'm just looking at his timeline here. He's very
He's
strong.
been with Trump since day one. He actually represented a lot of J6ers in court.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
he's a good guy.
I wasn't familiar with him.
Yeah.
But you can find him on X under at Eagle Ed Martin. Eagle Ed Martin. So really interesting. This is I didn't know that this was happening, that we had these acting interim attorneys until I started seeing it on X. And it's been this week kind of like drinking from a fire hose, right? Because so
Yes,
much
it
to
has
take
been.
in. I mean, I can't, I just can't, I can't put my phone down. So, but there's a lot to take in. I do recommend people who are not on X right now, if you're wanting to be abreast of what's current and what's breaking, that really is the place to be. Now, I
It is.
share a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff on Facebook, but it's probably about 10% of what I'm actually seeing on X.
It's
I,
X is where news breaks. It always has been
yeah,
breaking news on X.
yeah,
Real quick, let me
yeah,
bring a couple things to the forefront
yeah,
here. Just brief things. So talking about executive orders,
yeah.
going back to this, one thing that an executive order can do from the president is rescind a previous executive order from a president, right? So a lot of the executive orders that Trump signed on day one, he was rescinding executive orders signed by Biden and potentially some from Obama too. He actually went all the way back to 1964 and rescinded an executive order from LBJ that was about affirmative action.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is a really key issue for a lot of people who don't understand what's going on with Trump firing and freezing all DEI actions within the federal government. Every government agency, from the Pentagon to Homeland Security, all of their departments that are of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, their money, they've been defunded, they've been shut down. Those people are being basically let go. And yes, in some agencies, they're shifting people and they're changing their name title and their job responsibility to try to keep their DEI going. But there's whistleblowers inside that are exposing all that. Along with the shutdown of DEI is the rescinding of LBJ's executive order on affirmative action, which has essentially been used as a reverse discrimination tool. It has been used to legitimize the hiring and promotion of certain groups of people over other groups of people. And what Trump is trying to do is make a level playing field for everyone, so that whether you get a scholarship from a university or a job or a promotion, new job, hire, new promotion, it has to be based on your talents, your abilities. It's all merit-based, and it's not based on racial quotas or anything else. So Trump has been doing a lot on that front, and I'm really glad to see it.
Yeah, and it's right here on the whitehouse.gov. You can go right over to the website there, and it's under executive actions, presidential actions on whitehouse.gov. So everybody can go take a look at that. They're updating it in real time, which is good. I mean, every day you're getting updates on what's happening. There's 6 pages right now of presidential actions.
We are drinking from a fire hose. I'm telling you, it's hard to keep up with it all.
And speaking of fire hose, okay, let's talk about Catherine Herridge and Gitmo.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, oh, almost forgot about that. So anybody that's followed Q has had questions about Gitmo from the start. Actually, going back to the Kavanaugh hearings. Oh, wait, actually before that, military tribunals. We've been talking about this for quite a while. And it was, interestingly, Kayleigh McEnany, when she was with CNN, a lot of people don't know that she was with CNN earlier on. She wrote an article about military tribunals, about civilians being tried under military tribunals. And
Right.
moving forward in the Kavanaugh hearings, Lindsey Graham, of all people, questioned Kavanaugh about civilians being tried in military tribunals.
Right.
Fast forward, let's talk a little bit about Catherine Herridge. She was formerly with CBS. They let her go. And on day one of Trump's administration, she pops up on X and she's got a selfie at Gitmo. So
Right.
let's take it from there.
Guantanamo Naval Air Station, and then there's the legal annex at Gitmo, where there's a courthouse there and a large detention facility that has primarily been used to try terrorists. A lot of the 9/11 terrorists have been there, and it's outside of the United States. So these people don't really. There's this big issue going on, and I'm not going to go too much into this because it's not really all that relevant. But there's a reason why they have a detention facility in a courthouse that's outside of the continental U.S. It's primarily for non-citizens, right? And because the Constitution does not provide guarantees for non-citizens. If you're not a citizen of the U.S., you don't get the Constitution doesn't protect you. Anyway,
I think you should tell that to the leftists and the NGOs.
Yes. So Catherine Herridge shows up there literally on Inauguration Day. Got the selfie. Hey, I'm here. I'm sorry. And she is ostensibly there to follow up on some of the 9/11 trials that are still going on.
Right.
Sure you are. She might be. She might legitimately just be there to follow up on some of the 9/11 detainees and their trials and other things going on. Maybe that's why she's there.
Could be. Yeah.
I don't know. I suspect there's a chance that someone in the Trump administration tipped her off and said, "Hey, Catherine, you might want to go to Gitmo and just hang out there for a few weeks because you might get a breaking story in the not too distant future."
The spa.
So I don't know. Is it a head fake? I don't know. If are there going to be a whole bunch of members of the cabal arrested and taken to Gitmo? I don't know. It just looks very strange.
She's posting every day. Day 5, Gitmo. Day 6, Gitmo. It's definitely worth following her to see what's up there. I don't know, but we definitely want to we definitely want to keep track of that. That's a point of interest for sure. And let's see. Are we good with executive orders? Or are there any specific ones?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Well, at some point, I'm going to have to do some advertising.
Oh, you want to do that now?
So let me just do a little public service announcement.
Yeah.
I do not have anything against my friends and enemies who connect with, gold and silver folks and preparedness food and people who are promoting various products on their shows because that is a way for them to make their living, right? I don't have a problem with that. I've had a lot of people approach me over the years saying, "Hey, I'm with this gold and silver group. Would you consider doing some ads for us?" And I'm like, I don't really need the money. Look, I'm not like screaming wealthy, but I am very, very content to ask people to purchase our books. If you've been following me, following Mary, if you simply buy one of my books once or twice a year, that pays our bills. And as long as our bills are paid, we're good. We don't need to promote anything else other than if you want to donate to our ministry, that's one way you can support us. I don't personally, profit from the ministry. It's a ministry. That money is for the ministry. But I do receive royalties from Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So if you purchase our books, you're supporting me directly financially. And I am very, very grateful for all of the financial support that you give us by buying our books. And with that said,
Are we
have a new
ready?
book-
Ready?
we have a new book to announce. The fourth book in the Q Chronicles series is now available.
Woo!
Mary once again gets the scoop to do the book launch for another book.
What is this, the third or fourth exclusive?
Third. You got the exclusive on the preparedness book a year ago, and on the
Emotional healing.
emotional healing book a year ago. So this
Okay.
is Q Chronicles book 4. Yes, we are redesigning the covers and the titles. Eventually, all of the books in the series are going to have new covers and new titles. Denise just didn't like the branding. She's like, every time I look at those covers, I don't like them. We're going to redesign the covers. So the boss lady is getting us some new branding for the fourth book, Q Chronicles book 4. So as with all my other Q books, this is a topical dive into various subjects that Q has brought up over the years. There's a chapter on Edward Snowden. Snowden is a very controversial figure. He leaked a whole treasure trove of information from the NSA years ago in 2013, and then boogied over to Russia. She's got something on her phone. He went to Russia, and he's been in Russia ever since then. He's actually been granted, I think, Russian citizenship. But this chapter on Snowden covers all of the posts, or I should say most of the posts, that Q has dropped about Snowden. And there's a lot of them. And there's some fascinating hints in there that show that Q may have foretold or had foreknowledge of the death of John Perry Barlow, who is a Grateful Dead vocalist and songwriter, and a whole bunch of other interesting stuff in that section. We finally have closure on the Julian Assange saga. There's a chapter on Julian Assange. I cover Q posts from start to finish on what Q has said about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. A lot of interesting stuff in there. There is a chapter on Chris Wray, the former FBI director. There's a lot of people asking, like, well, what's the story with Chris Wray? Q said we should trust Wray. And is he a black hat? Is he a white hat? Well, in this chapter, I go through Q's posts about Chris Wray and kind of come to a conclusion what I think Q wants us to know about Chris Wray. There's a chapter on the Sum of All Fears. Sum of All Fears is a signature that Q has used, like a lot of Q's signature phrases. For instance, Godfather 3, Iron Eagle. There's a lot of different signature phrases. Each signature phrase talks about a different subject. Snow White, for instance, is a signature that talks about CIA. Sum of All Fears is a Tom Clancy novel and then became a film. And it talks about that film and that book is about a plot by some fascists to create a global superstate by creating a false flag nuclear war. And then if you know the film, the very last scene is a revenge scene where the president, who was almost killed, survives. And then he and the Russian president sign a peace agreement. And then they go and kill all of their, all the bad guys, while the song Nessun Dorma is playing in the background. All right. By the way, if you've been following Trump, following the rallies and been paying attention, Trump is still playing Nessun Dorma. At the rally, the night before he was inaugurated, Christopher Macchio came out and sang Nessun Dorma. That plays into the whole Sum of All Fears theme. This book has chapters called Our Patriots in Control, The Military is the Only Way, and then Only at the Precipice. The subtitle for this book, the unofficial subtitle, is Only at the Precipice. Q has talked about the idea that we have to be brought to the precipice of destruction before we decide we're going to take back our country and we're going to become the masters of our own fate. And we're not going to allow these people to drag us into a world war and have our country and the world destroyed. So lots of interesting subjects in this fourth Q book. It is available right now in print, paperback on Amazon. I'm currently working on the ebook file. It'll be available on Kindle probably tomorrow. And then Denise has the print book files done for Barnes & Noble and some other platforms. So it'll be available in all formats and all platforms. Eventually, it'll be available on Apple Books and Nook and Kobo and all the other platforms shortly. So there you go. Fourth book in the Q series is out. And the fifth book is in the works.
Very exciting. And we have put the links, my moderators and we have the links in all of the chat, which is awesome. And we have the QR code up here, and anybody can scan that QR code. It is on Amazon, and it's under Dave Hayes. Is it under Dave Hayes on Amazon?
Dave Hayes, yep.
Dave Hayes. And your other books, your healing books and teachings are under Praying Medic on Amazon. So
Correct.
If you're going over there looking under Praying Medic for the Q books, you're not going to find them, right?
Also, the first two books in this series, Calm Before the Storm and Great Awakening, they got blacklisted by Amazon. Those books are not available on Amazon. They are available on Barnes & Noble. All four books in the series will be available on Barnes & Noble. The first three books are available there now. The fourth book will be available probably by Monday or Tuesday.
It's exciting. Yeah. And
I'm
you
excited.
saw it here first.
And I think there's a chance Q might return now that 47 is back in the White House.
Yeah. And when that happens, I think so too. Listen, I think a couple things. I think that Trump did something last week that was very Q-ish, and I want to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
It was basically a live in-person Q drop, in my opinion. And I'll talk about that in a minute. I've been thinking a lot about this. But also, Dave, you and I are going to, hopefully, if this happens, we're going to be doing spaces on X. And can you explain a little bit about that? We've got to get some practice rounds in because there's an art to doing spaces. And we did one a couple weeks ago, and I didn't really understand the assignment. So I messed it up. But we had a good space. It was good. It wasn't what Dave had pictured. But explain your workflow and why we're going to do spaces.
Yep. If Q returns, and this is a big if, because I don't know if Q is going to come back. I suspect Q will come back, and here's why. If Kash Patel makes good on his promise to declassify millions of documents that the FBI has, if John Ratcliffe makes good on his promise and declassifies millions of documents that the CIA has been sitting on, if we start getting this massive amount of declassification and all these documents made public, we're going to need some help sorting through all these documents and figuring out what's relevant and what's not. And that's where I would imagine Q might come in and help us laser pointer, say, look, start here, look at these documents, read them, and let's start connecting the dots, and then move to this, and then move to that. That's just my theory. If Q is going to return, it'll probably be to help us connect the dots in all of these declassified documents. So if Q does come back, I have a particular workflow that I use to go through the posts and make sense of them. And here's how it works. When Q is actively posting, and I'll just make a guess. I think if Q comes back and is helping us go through declassification, there's going to be a lot of coded posts that have to be decoded, and there's going to be a lot of them, maybe 15, 18 posts a day. That is a lot of information to go through, requires a lot of research.
Hmm.
So what I do when Q is actively posting, I go to the board, to the 8kun board, and I start getting screenshots of Q's posts, throw them in a folder on my computer. I get screenshots of the observations that the Anons are making, put those in a folder on my computer. And then I start doing my own research, looking at the links that Q is posting, looking at what various people are saying on social media as far as potential answers to Q's messages, trying to sort through all the data and come up with what I think is a good summary of a particular post. And it gets a little more complicated because my videos and threads on Q are topical, just like the books that I write, they're topical. I try to make the threads topical. I'm going to sit back for a day or two and read these posts and try to get at the idea, what is Q talking about? What is the theme of these posts? Is it D-class? Is it exposing corruption in Congress? Is Q exposing corruption in big pharma? What is Q going after? And I'm going to make that the theme of a particular thread. And I'm going to take any new posts or any old posts that shed light on that theme and put them in a thread on Twitter. So I'll create a thread on Twitter with screenshots, both old posts that'll give context and new posts that give new information. Create the thread on Twitter, post all the tweets. Some of my threads end up being over 100 tweets. Some are over 200 tweets. Just depends on how much is coming out. I will then, when I get to a place where I can take a break and Q is either not posting, or sometimes Q will just post for week after week after week, and there's no breaks. I'm like, all right, I got to take a break here and I have to do a video. So I'll end the thread and then I'll do a video that covers all the posts on the thread. And then I'll post the video on Rumble and then post it on my website. And then there's this thing called Spaces. So my last Q thread was 4 years ago. All right, I'm a little rusty on the workflow. So I've been kind of brushing up a little bit and going through some of my old Twitter threads to get myself mentally back in the workflow of what would it look like to do a Q thread? How do I make, like even the thumbnails to start a thread? I forgot how I went in and actually did the artwork for those threads. I had to retrain myself how to do this. So in all of that, there's this new thing on X called Spaces. And I know it's not new. It's been around for 2.5 years, but it's new to me because I was suspended from Twitter for 2.5 years. And I recently got back and I'm aware of Spaces. I don't like Spaces all that much because it's kind of a mess. And people are always, there's all kinds of technological glitches with Spaces.
It's weird.
Yeah, that said, Spaces are popular and Spaces are a good format for taking questions from listeners and the audience. You can just give microphones to people and have people come in. It's a good place where you can do roundtable discussions. I could envision Mary and I facilitating Spaces where we invite some Anons to come in and have them give their insights into what the latest Q posts might mean, right? That's one way what I can see us using Spaces. Another one would be question and answer. Q has dropped, let's say, 35 posts over the last 3 days, and people have questions. Mary and I might jump on a space on X, host a space, and just kind of take questions from the audience about what does this post mean? What is Q getting at here? What do you think this means? That's one potential way that we would use Spaces. The question that I have is will I have time for it? Because if Q is just bombing us with post after post after post, it requires research and more threads and more videos. I have to then set aside time to do space for a couple of hours. And I'm just insanely busy when Q is posting actively. So it's something else I
Yeah.
have to add into the workflow. And I'm not sure how that's going to work. But we're going to, we've talked about doing some practice spaces where we
Yeah.
just go in and we work through the mechanics of, how do you bring up speakers? How do you take speakers down? If there's all these problems on spaces where sometimes one host cannot hear the co-host or cannot hear the speaker. That actually happened. I was on a space with Santino the other night. Santino threw me a mic, and as soon as I got on, he could not hear me. He was the host. He had to leave as the host and come back.
Yeah, that
and there's
happened
a
on a
way,
space I was on.
if you don't do that the right way, you crash the space. So we have some things to work through if we're going to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about spaces, unlike video, is that you don't have to set up. There's not as much setup. You can just click the button and put a title up and go live. And, like for people like me, you don't have to like get your makeup on. So I know, Dave, hair and makeup. So
how's my hair look? Is that okay?
well, I was going to say, I wasn't going to say anything. But yeah, but it is a good format. And I wanted to tell people like, this is, I don't have a vested interest in you going to X. Okay. Except that it is, for all intents and purposes, relative to anything else we have, it is a free speech platform. And it is a place where we will be, we can talk about things that will still at this point are still being censored on other platforms, except maybe Rumble. But the other advantage that Dave described about Spaces is that we have that feature where people can raise their hand, they can get brought in as a speaker. It's a little bit like old-fashioned talk radio, except you don't have to dial up with your phone. You just request a microphone, you get brought in as a speaker, and then you can ask your question, and then you can click off and go about your business. Just like calling into the radio. You listen to the show, you have a question, raise your hand. Hey, I want to know about this, blah, blah, blah. And then, Dave or I answer your question, and then off you go. That's the beauty of the format of Spaces. We don't really have that ability here. We have, like on Facebook, if people are following my channel, I can bring them on to a live feed, but it's a little more complicated. So I do encourage you, follow me on X, follow Dave on X. I'm at Mary Grace TV. Dave is at Praying Medic. And if you turn on your notifications, you hit that little bell, that way you'll get a notification when we are doing a space. The other way to figure it out is when you go to the person's timeline, if you click on their profile picture, it'll pop up if they're live or if they're on a space. It's not that complicated. And there's also this thing called Google, and you can Google like, how does Spaces work? If you're not sure. But there's also a search engine on X. It's kind of pretty good. Grok.
Denise likes it. She uses it a lot.
I do too. I've been using it a lot. It's called Grok. Yeah, and I guess it doesn't have quite the
wokeness
issues, though it's not as wokety woke as Google. So that's where we're headed with that. People are definitely saying that, they like her. Everybody has opinions about everything. We're just telling you where you're going to find us when we start talking about this stuff. And if you want to be there, be there. If you don't, we understand. And we'll do the best we can to disseminate the information in other ways. But these video chats that we're having, we just can't do it as frequently. I don't have a TV studio. We can't run 24/7 video feeds like some of the like, I'm not Alex Jones, okay? Let's just, although, yeah, anyway, not Alex Jones. So, okay. Now, speaking of technology, I would love to talk about President Trump's press conference the other day with Larry Ellison and Altman, the OpenAI guy, and the other guy, I don't know who that guy was, a financier,
From SoftBank.
billionaires.
Yeah.
That raised a lot of eyebrows, and some people were big mad that Larry Ellison talked about some jibber jabbers. And I think some people jumped ship over that. I'm like, hold up, guys.
They always do.
Yeah, 72-hour rule. But I mentioned earlier that I thought that Trump was doing a real-time Q drop. And I actually think that was a real-time Q drop. And I'll tell you why. Because we already know that Q posted things to draw attention to them and to get the attention of the anons so that they would start researching. And I'm willing to, I know for sure that as that press conference was unfolding, as Trump was talking with those three guys up there, that the anons were going to town, right? Like they were keyboarding like mad because, Q doesn't have to tell them anymore what to do. They're just doing it. To me, that was like a real-time Q drop. Hey, I'm shining a spotlight on these tech bros and billionaires. And one of them even handed something to you on a silver platter when he started talking about his AI cancer treatment. Like, go have at it, everybody. That's my take. I think it was a real-time Q drop.
That's interesting. Well, we know that, and gosh, this is a kind of a difficult subject to talk about for me.
Okay.
Because I won't say have a little bit of emotional trauma from it, but I sometimes get a little disgusted with certain individuals who every time Trump talks to anyone, Trump is highlighting them as a potential enemy. And there's always this sort of background thing where Trump brings up someone that he is obviously an ally, General Flynn, right? And we've seen this on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get all the Flynn haters who will come in and say, oh, you got to keep your enemies close, right?
Right.
So there's this narrative going on out there where anyone that comes into contact with Trump is someone we should immediately be suspicious of, because Trump only highlights his enemies and he never ever talks to his friends. So like,
good point.
I would be careful in going too far with the assertion that Trump is highlighting all these people because they're enemies. I'll say this: Larry Ellison has donated more money to Trump's campaign over the years than anybody. He's by far the largest donor.
Okay.
He's the fourth richest person in the world behind Elon Musk on paper, according to all these things. Ellison is a very conservative guy historically. He's a big conservative donor, and he's been an ally of Trump's for a long time.
Okay.
So I would just be a little cautious in automatically assuming that Ellison is a deep state dirtbag. When I heard him talking about the mRNA vaccine that can cure cancer, I was like, okay, dude, read the room. Like, did you really want to say that here?
Yeah. Right.
I had a little different take. I had more of a normie take, but you may be right. It is possible that Trump was putting these people on the platform and bringing out his little laser pointer going, okay, Anons, start digging into these guys and tell us what you know. That's
Mhm.
totally possible.
Well, and
Absolutely.
it's not always, I mean, Q isn't always pointing to enemies,
Right.
right? I
Right.
mean, he just wants people to research and do deeper dives. So I
Right.
wasn't necessarily saying that they're all enemies.
Right.
Now, we also know that there's no love lost between Sam Altman and Elon. And so,
Correct.
like, Trump's adopted son wasn't too happy about Altman being up there. So it just, it's an interesting dynamic. So whether Trump never does anything accidental, right? There's no coincidence hardly with Trump. I mean, like, he didn't just naively bring those guys up there. Let's be real. But we
True.
also
True.
know that our economy, that America is broke, and that the American economy needs cash. And the other thing we know is that, for example, with AI is a reality. We're not going to wish it away. And
Correct.
if we're going to have AI, um, we want to be in control of it. We
Right.
don't want another country to outpace us with that technology. Trump is also aware that America has fallen behind in a lot of these areas where we should be in the forefront. I mean, he's talked about that on the campaign trail so many times. We're a declining nation, and so, would he want to get ahead and put the pieces into place to start advancing our infrastructure? Absolutely. And
I-
he's racing right out of the gate to do that.
Yeah. Can I make a couple of uncomfortable
Please,
analogies here?
please
All right.
do. Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Everybody
This,
be prepared to get uncomfortable.
yes, this is all intended. What I'm going to say is intended for those of you who have not spent the last 8 years analyzing Trump's motives, strategies, and tactics. Okay. And a lot of this comes down to simple pattern recognition. It's recognizing a certain pattern of behavior in an individual and going, wait a minute, I've seen that kind of behavior before here, and I saw it here. When you're dating someone and you're thinking, well, maybe, this is Mr. Right. Maybe, I want to, start thinking about marriage. The one thing you should be doing when you're dating someone as a potential spouse, you need to look at patterns of behavior and ask yourself, are there red flags here in any of the patterns of behavior I'm seeing? Anger management issues, overspending issues, overly flirtatious with people that are not supposed to be, too cozy with, all those things. When you start seeing patterns of behavior that are like concerning and the red flags are going off, you should pay attention to them. Now, back to Trump. So what is Trump doing with Sam Altman, Larry Ellison, and the guy from SoftBank? I can't remember his name. Here is in essence what is happening. You have some of the richest people in the world who are coming to the president and saying, we would like to donate, I don't know, $100 or $200 billion to make
Trillion.
billion. Well, they're looking at $100 billion investment initially, potentially up to $500 billion in the whole project called Stargate. So these bazillionaires come to you and say, hey, we have a brainy idea. We'd like to build this massive project,
data center,
AI project, and we're going to donate billions of dollars to you, hundreds of billions of dollars. If you're Trump, what do you do to when they come to you and say that? Do you say, I'm not really interested. Go away. Take your money and give it to President Xi.
Yeah.
When you have wealthy people come to you, and look, like you said, you can't wish AI away. It's not going away.
Yeah.
Right. We can either use it for some good purpose, and Denise has been using it for some good purposes. I use it for some good purposes. Let me give you my real short testimony about AI. I was initially, when AI became kind of a big thing, I was very, very hesitant to embrace it. And I still am hesitant in what I want AI to have control of and what it can do. I'm very skeptical about the future of AI. Elon has literally said publicly, if it is not regulated, it is going to destroy humanity. So Elon is very well aware of that, and so is Trump. All right. So if you can't wish this thing away, the next best thing you can do is control it. You have to control the development. You have to regulate it. You have to make sure it doesn't get in the hands of the wrong people and be used for the wrong purposes. Correct? That's
Just like any technology.
Just like, I don't know, a pandemic that has vaccines that are going to come out. Let's go back to the pandemic of 2020. Trump did not have a choice to say to Fauci and Birx and all these other people, no, we're not going to have a pandemic this year. He didn't have a choice. The president doesn't get to decide if we have a No, the pandemic. Trump doesn't get to decide if the health officials are going to declare a pandemic or not. He has no control over that.
Unless he puts them on a gag order.
All right. Unless he puts them on a gag order preemptively so they can't say anything publicly about it. See, he's learning. He's learning. If he was smart in 2020, anyway, so he also had no control over these drug companies launching vaccines to combat a perceived pandemic. Trump could not stop those vaccines from coming out. The only thing he could do is exert control over the process by which they're manufactured and let out into the public to try to minimize damage. Are you seeing a pattern of behavior here? Okay. Same thing with crypto. I would argue the same thing is true with crypto. Trump is not a crypto fan. Trump has never been a crypto fan. He has come out and said Bitcoin is a scam. He doesn't believe in crypto. There's no intrinsic value in it. However, Trump can see down the road, he's like, there's no way I'm going to stop crypto from being a thing. It's just people just like it. It's growing in popularity. I can't prevent this thing from happening. So I'm going to get into it and I'm going to find a way to control it. So he puts out an executive order basically banning the issuance of a central bank digital currency. He's not going to allow a CBDC to be a reality. It's not going to happen, right? He's exercising control over something that he's very concerned about. All right. Trump is a sound money guy. He wants the dollar to be the preeminent currency of the world forever, period. And who knows, we may go back to a gold standard at some point. But with crypto, it's another thing where Trump is looking into the future and he's like, I cannot prevent crypto from becoming like this big thing. So I have to get into it and I have to exercise some control over it. Patterns, you need to start recognizing patterns. Trump looks at AI, looks at crypto, looks at the pandemic and goes, I can't stop these things. So I have to get in here and I have to exert some control and influence about how it's going to be rolled out. And that's just how Trump is. Trump understands that if you can't stop something from coming, you have to get involved and influence the way that thing is going to develop and be regulated and be used by society. That's the best.
He's very pragmatic.
Yeah.
He's a realist. He's a pragmatist. He's not a Pollyanna. He's not an ideologue. So he doesn't.
Everything he does is pragmatic. He's very, very down to earth, practical. I need a solution to this issue. He's not an ideologue. He really isn't.
Yeah. He doesn't. He's not emotional. He doesn't make decisions on emotion, and he literally he weighs all the options. Okay, if this, then this. He's got flow charts running through his brain all the time. And,
Absolutely.
we can see this, for example, in the press conference that he had in the roundtable in California last night. He already had a set of data coming into it. And one of the things that people like Karen Bass and all of these supervisors and people who think very highly of themselves and think they're the smartest people in the room and have bought into the lie that Trump is dumb, they go into a meeting like that thinking they have the upper hand. And and they get caught flat-footed every time because they're operating from a place of sort of one-dimensional hubris, and they really think that he's an idiot. And then he starts throwing all of these facts and figures at them because he's done his homework. And for example, when she says, when she's trying to tell him that people can get into their properties to clean up, he says, no, they can't. You told them 18 months. Your supervisors told them 18 months. She's gobsmacked because she doesn't know how Trump knows that. She doesn't know how he can be on the ground that morning in a disaster area on the other side of the country and then arrive in her little round table where she's the queen bee of the communo-Marxists that run that county, and then understand and know all of the statistics of what's going on and understand how FEMA has operated and how the local commissions work, the Coastal Commission. Like, how does he know about the Coastal Commission?
I was very impressed with how much Trump knew about what was happening locally, what had been said, what the restrictions were, what the conditions were.
Yeah.
He was totally up to speed on that, as if he had been there the whole time.
Obviously they were, and just to put this in perspective, guys, okay, the guy has just been inaugurated. He changed the entire inauguration, went through that. He's done, he's probably had 20 hours of sleep all week. He's had the most effective and energy-packed 100 hours of any administration ever. And he shows up at this roundtable having to do with one disaster in like 3 counties in California. On the scale of global events, it's a big, but it's not the biggest. And he knows what's going on. He knows about the Paradise Fire. He knows about Maui. He's so dialed in. And that's what I mean. He knows
what the drones are. He knows what the drones are about.
Yeah.
And he's going to tell us eventually.
Yeah. I was told by one of his insiders in December. I asked them point blank, is Trump, has he dialed in on these drones? Should we be worried? And I was told he's got it under control. Don't worry. So, and he's indicated that. But my point is, he's got running data points and spreadsheets just constantly running through his head. He can multitask like nobody I've ever seen. And he can he has so much bandwidth, it's incredible. It really is incredible. So that's where people underestimate him. And they've done themselves the disservice of believing the lies about him. And they always get themselves in trouble when they do that. They set themselves up.
And the members in the Senate who are going to try to interrogate RFK Jr. next week, they're going to run into the same problem. And it's the same morons who ran through the buzzsaw by Bessent, our new Secretary of the Treasury, who thought they were going to outsmart this guy who's been in the financial markets his entire life and knows more about global finance and than anybody in the room. And they just got owned by this guy. And when RFK comes into the Senate next week and these morons think they're going to start throwing crap at RFK because he's not a physician and he's not qualified, and he doesn't understand, and he's never run an agency, RFK is going to make these people look like idiots because he is not a stupid person.
He's going to eat their lunch.
He is going to destroy them.
Maybe he'll have a pull-up bar in there. And he'll be like, I just I need a quick break. Can you guys hold on a second? He'll just bust out like a 10 pull up, 15, 70 years old, totally ripped. And then he'll drink like a jar of collagen or something. He'll be like, okay, I'm back.
No, well, but the thing is, you said these people are full of hubris, and they are. And
Yeah.
people who are full of, there's no one has more hubris than members of the Senate. And they're going to regret their attacks on RFK Jr. about 10 minutes after the hearing starts.
Yeah.
They're going to realize, okay, we're in over our heads. We should maybe just back out of this.
I can't wait. And listen, I'm not a vengeful person, but I do want Amy Klobuchar to pay for what she did to Trump in setting him up with that lesbian bishop lady at that church service. That was Klobuchar. She was the chair of the inaugural committee. She
Right.
could have picked somebody else to deliver that sermon, but that was all her. So I hope she gets smacked down to be shorter than she already is. That's just me. That's
She's
a little
not my
bit.
favorite person.
She's like 4 feet tall. I think maybe 5, but you get my point. I really hope she gets her comeuppance. And some other people too. I really, and here's the thing. I want to bring up something about the hearings as well. When it comes to these hearings, one thing that I think can help people have some perspective is sometimes a lot of times, remember when you hear these people talking and showboating and grandstanding, they don't actually even always believe what they're talking about. And they don't even really know what they're talking about. They have staffers that are doing research for them. So for example, when Dick Durbin is quoting something about Q, he has no idea. He doesn't even know how to work the internet. The guy is like 90 years old. Okay. And so, these people are dinosaurs. They're not smart, but
Chuck Schumer literally calling Trump Hitler before the election. And then a couple of weeks later at a dinner, yucking it up, sitting next to him at the table, drinking wine, talking about all this stuff with a guy he had just called Hitler a couple of weeks earlier.
Yeah,
These people do not believe. They don't actually believe the stuff that they put out there. It's just a bunch of talking points and nonsense.
Yeah, and they're fame fags. They're just a bunch of fame fags. Yeah, that's what they want. They want the limelight. They want their 15 minutes. It's part of their brand, because when they get this is how they get on committees. So when you see different members of Congress who are constantly at the mic, they're trying to build their brand. They're trying to build a brand that goes beyond their time in Congress. Just remember that, because they want to be recognized. They want to be on boards. They want to be on panels. They want to be on CNN and things like that. That's a lot of what you're seeing there, because if you think about it, there's a lot of members of Congress and the Senate that you don't even know exist. But the ones that are front and center, they have an agenda, and it's partly just their own ego.
Speaking of members of Congress, real quick public service announcement. My congressman, Andy Biggs, has filed the paperwork and he is interested in running for governor of Arizona. I love Andy Biggs. He's a great patriot. He's America first. If you live in Arizona, you could go to Andy Biggs to his website. He's got a petition on there. He needs signatures on the petition to get on the ballot to be governor in 2026. Please go hit up Andy's website. If you live in Arizona, sign the petition so we can get his name on the ballot. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes. Good PSA. Speaking of PSAs, I want to say something about Virginia. Virginia has a big problem happening right now, and that is that the leftists are trying to get abortion rights codified into the state constitution, into the Constitution as an alienable human right. And so if you're in Virginia, you need to be aware of that and be communicating with your representatives, your Senate members of the Senate, because it would be I think it'll be an amendment to the Constitution. So it's a big deal because once it comes to that stage, it's very hard to reverse it, and some states have already done that.
Right.
Because again, it's a human right. It's a basic human right. So what else do we need to cover here? Oh, deportations. Tom Homan.
Deportations. Well, as promised, as promised, Tom Homan and the military are deporting the illegal aliens, mostly initially a lot of criminals.
Yeah.
Illegal aliens that they know have criminal records or have existing current warrants out for them. They're rounding them up and they're deporting them. And, we've got active duty military and National Guard at the border. Trump initially requested 10,000 troops at the border. And the acting defense secretary pushed back and said, well, all we can spare is 1,500 right now. I would imagine that Pete Hegseth will find more troops to deploy at the border so we can get this operation. Mm-hmm. Most of the people that have been deployed, military, I looked through the list, it's almost all engineers, and basically a lot of logistics, and military police, mostly MPs and engineers, because they need to build a wall. And MPs are qualified to do detainment and deportation when needed. So, it's happening. It's going to be a long process. We've got millions and millions of people that have to be deported. Hang in there. Don't give up. But it is happening.
Yeah. And they're posting the numbers every day.
Yes.
Of
you can go to the ICE website and they've got numbers, how many detainees and how many deportations.
Yeah, so it right here. I've been sharing them, but that was yesterday. So pretty interesting. And it is a lot. It's a big scale. It's at scale. Do you think a lot of people are going to self-deport? I mean, I think I see that happening.
Hope so. I hope so.
That would cost a lot less for us.
Also, Trump is now deputizing local and state law enforcement and authorizing them to do deportations. Just throwing that out there.
Well, we had Sheriff Mack on earlier this week, and his organization trains trains law enforcement and private citizens to take part, to deputize, basically. And his organization is CSPOA.org, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Organization. That is association, CSPOA.org. You can go back and watch that episode on all of my social media. It's interesting. And he explains the process of deputizing. He has courses, he has webinars. So if you're in an area where your sheriff leans in that direction, or even, he teaches you how to talk to your sheriff, teaches you how to approach them, what kind of information to give them to deal with a lot of this stuff. So it's very helpful, really good organization. And he explains it really well. We had him on the show. We've had him a couple times, but he was here just a couple days ago. So everybody can go watch that. It's interesting because he said a lot of police and sheriff departments already have people that are deputized. They just don't call them that. They're often like search and rescue volunteers. It's the same idea. And so anybody that's military or former police or just a private citizen that wants to be deputized, there are programs like that, and he teaches you how to do it. So that's pretty cool. I did see something about 82nd Airborne. Maybe they're talking about sending them down to the border.
That wouldn't surprise me.
And Marines, some Marines.
Yeah, I can't confirm. I will say one more thing that Trump did in an executive order. He is going to reinstate everyone in the military who was removed for not taking the vaccine with back pay
Yes.
make them whole. Trump is doing so much to right the wrongs of the previous administration. It's just glorious to watch it happening.
Yes. Yes. Did you see the story yesterday about the school in Chicago that had a visit from the Secret Service, and
Yep.
the fake news ran a fake story saying that it was uh,
ICE
ICE.
deporting kids. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's how they
that's yeah, that's how they roll. Now, do you notice any changes with the fake news? Have you noticed a difference in the way that they're handling the news nowadays? Like yesterday, it seems like they were asking Trump real questions when he was at these disaster areas. They weren't like screaming at him
trying
and
to do the gotcha questions.
yeah,
I haven't been paying enough attention yet to say whether there is a real change in the tactics used by the mainstream media. It was great watching Trump just riff with Ducey in the White House when he was signing executive order. Peter Ducey was in there,
mhm,
and it was like there was Peter Ducey. He was asking Trump, and Trump was just going back and forth with him about all these different things.
yeah,
And this one female, like lefty reporter was in there. She was trying to get some gotcha questions in there, and Trump just kind of kept shutting her down.
was it
So
Caitlin Collins? She's a
no, it
Harvey.
was some gal. She had an accent.
Okay.
I don't know her name, but we'll have to take a wait and see. But you love to see Trump going out to Marine One and having all the reporters lined up there outside their
He's
tents,
back.
and
Yeah.
Trump's out there answering questions like he always did during his first 4 years.
Yeah.
And after we've so many times watching Biden waddle out there with his Depends on next to Jill, and he had his little entourage making sure that no one asked him any questions, helping him get onto the helicopter so he didn't face plant.
Yeah.
Watching Trump go out there and do the live pressers impromptu, it's so good to have Trump back in the White House. I just love it.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's going to be 24/7 Trump TV for the next 4 years. That's all we need. We don't have time for anything else. I mean,
all you
it's
need.
just yeah, and he's so busy. Like he's not taking vacations. And so I mean, he knows too that really he has 2 years because hopefully he's going to maintain control of the House and the Senate, but we don't know. And so he is not one to waste time, and I think he's really like obviously he's hit the ground running. That's a conservative way of saying it.
He has. The team is firing on all cylinders as far as I can see.
Yeah.
I think he's got, for the most part, the right people. I had a couple of dreams in the last 2 weeks suggesting that there are going to be a couple of snakes who will make their way in.
Mhm.
I had a dream about someone in the military passing along fake orders through the chain of command that Trump had not given. That's one thing that we should be praying about is traitors coming into the administration who are going to subvert what Trump wants to do. We know there's going to be those people. We need to pray that those people are exposed and removed from their positions. But, he spoke virtually to the Davos knuckleheads.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And pretty much just punched him straight in the mouth. Like, we're a sovereign nation. We're not going to bow down to you. If we are open for business, if you want to do business with us, we're happy to do business with you. If you don't want to do business with us, you're going to be taxed. You're going to be tariffed.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Apparently, he had a conversation with the Prime Minister of Denmark, and they are now crapping their pants because they suddenly realized, oh my God, Trump is serious. He really does want Greenland. This isn't like some joke. And now they're panicking because they know Trump is going to tariff the hell out of them if they don't give over control of Greenland. which Trump doesn't want for a joke. He's not going to make a meme coin out of it. Trump is preparing a big picture strategic plan to thwart the encroachment of China into the Western Hemisphere.
Yes.
That's what this is about. Greenland, Panama Canal, Canada, it's all about consolidating the landmass and getting strategic assets together to push back against the encroachment of China into the Western Hemisphere.
The Belt and Road. Yeah.
Yeah, it is the 21st century, the reemergence of the Monroe Doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know about the Monroe Doctrine, you should know about it. When the colonists were dealing with France and Great Britain and their massive expansion and colonialism back in that day, Monroe, president, he basically wrote this letter explaining that we in the United States had an interest in preventing European colonialists from expanding and grabbing up land in the Western Hemisphere. And the Monroe Doctrine was really basically a doctrine that said the Western Hemisphere is sort of ours to guard and watch over. Not that we're going to go and take over all the countries in Central America and South America, but that we have an interest in preventing France and Great Britain and Germany from coming in and taking those lands and basically creating more influence in the Western Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Monroe Doctrine. Trump is very, very aware of the importance of not allowing China to come in and subvert these governments and take over. Like China is building bases in Cuba right now. China is doing everything they can to try to surround the United States, and Trump is pushing back. And the Greenland, Canada, Panama thing, it's all about pushing back against China's attempt to have basically global dominance.
And the U.S. does have presence in Greenland already. It's not like we're just, thinking this up. We do have like research facilities that, we have joint facilities there with other nations. So this is not really far-fetched. And, one of the things that I wanted to say about Trump too, as we're moving forward, there are some people listening who maybe aren't as familiar with him, who haven't studied him to the extent that you or I have. And there's a couple of things that I think will help to understand him going forward. And maybe you've forgotten because you've been watching just rank incompetence and stupidity for 4 years. But Trump is very smart. He's multi-layered. He can multitask. And so, for example, if he starts talking about something or if he's dealing with a certain issue and you think that it's going to suck all the oxygen out of the room and that you don't want him to get distracted by it, don't worry. Trump is quite capable of focusing on more than one thing at a time. I mean, more than one huge issue. If you doubt that, just watch what he's done over the last week. Watch the press conference that Dave was talking about, where he's signing executive orders and talking to Ducey. And then yesterday, when he went from Carolina to California, and then there's another point I want to make about him. But do you want to interject something?
Yes. You know how there's a saying, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I get a little bit annoyed with people on social media. Whenever some issue comes into the headlines, there's this group of people that insist it's a distraction. It's just a distraction. Don't pay attention to it. It's a distraction. I'm like, look, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Trump can walk and chew gum and cut the grass and bake cookies and hang drywall at the same time. The guy can do 15 things at the same time. He's not going to get distracted. So don't worry about it.
Exactly. The other thing I wanted to say is that when it comes to Trump, we're not him. There are very few people like him. And what I mean by that is if you've ever watched a Rocky movie, just take like a classic knockdown, drag out movie where the hero is against the ropes and they've got a bloody nose, and you think it's over. They're counting, and then like one fingertip comes off the mat and one elbow comes off the mat, and then they get up on one knee and they drag themselves up, and just before the count they stand up, and then they like come back and slug, and they get this burst of energy, and then they take out their opponent. That Trump lives for that. Okay. Somebody in the chat said, he has so much energy. What does he eat? And I said, liberal tears. He eats adversity for lunch. He gets energized by adversity. When he was in the press briefings during COVID, people got so nervous because these smooth-brained idiots in the press, these teleprompter readers, would stand there and yell at him and fuss at him and try to get him on all these gotcha questions, and he would just keep going and sparring with them, and it made people nervous, right? They're like, why does he do that? It's just so serious. Because people, you might not like confrontation. Trump thrives on it. Like, this is what he eats for breakfast. Okay, he loves confrontation.
Trump will go into a presser and say things just to provoke an argument with someone in the press, because he knows if he says this, they're going to respond to it, and he can then go after them.
That's what I'm saying. So just keep that in mind. And then all the little, the sparring, like, when he said something about Watermelon Head yesterday, Adam Schiff was supposed to be on the plane with him. He goes, yeah, I heard about that. He goes, what happened to him? He looks like he got hit
by a baseball bat.
And it just, like, Trump is old school, like, playground kind of stuff. If you win all the marbles from Trump, he is not going to stop until he wins them back. And that's just how he rolls. He's a fighter, he's a sparrer, he takes energy off of that. And so don't project your own preferences and distaste for confrontation onto Trump. That you're gonna drive yourself crazy if you do that, because he's not you. That's why he's president, and that's why he came back from 8 years, almost 10 years of sheer hell. Most mortal people would not survive what he did, and he showed up on Monday looking like $1 million, and with his beautiful supermodel bride at his side. Go ahead, take it. Okay.
And Dan Scavino at his side. Yeah. Well, to her point, let Trump be Trump. The people, I know one guy who's he's in the Trump administration. I've known him for a while. He reached out to me years ago. There is a culture within Trump world where they all refer to him as the boss. And they have all realized years ago, you're not the boss. You're not the brightest person in the room. Trump, their thing is let Trump be Trump.
Yeah.
If you let him do what he's going to do, if you let him think the way he's going to think, let him strategically, tactically run his operation, he will get us across the finish line. You just have to let him do what he's going to do and trust that he knows what he's doing. And there are going to be some landmines here and there. There's going to be a few tripwires. He will see most of them. He'll occasionally make an unforced error. There have been some unforced errors in the inauguration process. People said some things and did some things that shouldn't have happened, in my opinion. But, those are small issues, and we just move on and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. But basically, like, if you're on this ride with Trump, don't expect like power steering and power suspension. Like, that's not how he rolls. So just be aware. You're in for a ride. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you're new here,
Buckle up.
that's part of what Dave and I are here for, is to help you. But just give yourself, just remember the 72-hour rule. Don't freak out at things that happen. Give it time. Don't go chasing every rabbit trail, especially of people that are telling you, oh, this is a distraction. So if you just keep in mind, Trump can multitask. Trump loves the confrontation. He thrives on it. This is not hurting him. It makes him stronger. If you keep, and then always give any issue that comes up, give it 72 hours minimum to see how things play out. As Trump says, let's see what happens. If you apply those 3 principles to the next 4 years, you're going to have way less anxiety. You're going to not need Tums or Rolaids, and you're going to be fine. If you worry and fret over every little thing that we just described, it's going to be hell, because he is taking you. We are on the ride, like the rocket has launched. So get ready. Put on your seatbelt.
Fasten seatbelts. Please put your tray table in the upright position.
Please keep arms inside the ride at all times
until it comes to a stop. We are we're in for a roller coaster ride, people. You just have to buckle in and get ready. There's going to be some crazy stuff coming out over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
and it's like going to the carnival. It's like going to the carnival. It's like being on those rides where you get there and you're not quite sure those rides are even nailed down to the ground. And you just paid $5.
That thing looks like it might tip over if it
This thing looks like the seats might fly off. Yeah. Like, you remember the scrambler, like you're jerking all around it. And you're like, I just paid to get on this ride. That's pretty much what you can expect. And it's okay, because Trump, like I said, he's loving it. Like, he's got his arms. He's like the first one with his arms up at the top of the roller coaster. Okay. And keeps them up the whole time. That's Trump. If you know that's the personality you're dealing with, if you understand that, you can white knuckle it, but don't expect him to.
Yeah.
How'd I do?
You did great. I would just add one thing to what you just said. I have been watching certain people, and this is not me watching them, because I have a wife. She watches and listens to a lot of people on social media. And because we're like, joined at the hip, I vicariously get to watch and listen to a bunch of people on social media. And there's all these podcasters out there. And it's kind of sad, because some of these guys literally think they're smarter than Trump. And they're already on their podcasts second guessing Trump doing this, appointing that, allowing this person in the room. This shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened. Trump's really screwing up here. And I listen to these people and I'm like,
yep,
seriously, you have so little life experience to speak from. And you think that you could do this better than Trump. Yeah. Why didn't you run? And why aren't you in the White House? Yeah. I would be cautious in listening to people on social media when they're throwing shade on Trump or one of Trump's appointees, and just let it ride, and don't get too anxious, nervous, or too concerned when people start criticizing what Trump is doing. 95% of the time, Trump is going to be landing the blows. He's going to be moving forward. There are going to be some unforced errors. There are going to be some snakes who are going to work their way into the administration. They'll eventually be exposed and removed. But just, like Mary said, if you want to have high blood pressure and be full of anxiety all the time, go ahead, listen to the people who are, start putting out all the concerns about Trump.
Yeah.
If you want to sleep well at night, do not listen to those people.
Yeah, those are concern trolls. Is this a good time to talk about Con Inc. too?
Sure.
All right. You want to lead that?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, as one of the things that I think is important for people to be aware of is, as people have sort of become refugees from the fake news, there has to be someone to fill the void. And a lot of you have landed on my channel, you've landed on Dave's channel, you've landed on, our content, but you've also maybe found yourself in a middle ground, in some watching some people that you think sound really reasonable and that align with you on certain topics. For example, like there's certain things that we can all agree on. For example, like abortion. That's something that most conservatives are aligned on across the board. Immigration, things like that. But if you start to notice, you'll watch some of these influencers that are part of what I would call conservative Inc. They have made a lot of money on Trump's coattails, riding his coattails, being what I would call sort of like faux conservatives, conservative Inc. They're in the business of giving you a soft place to land when you extract yourself from the fake news media. But if you start to pay attention to them, they are very quick to criticize Trump. And I'm not saying that Trump is always above criticism, but they're always bringing in some kind of concern or worry, or they have a better way of doing it, or they're saying things like, well, Trump needs to, and I like Trump, but there's always something like that. And
Right.
and then the other thing is there's certain third rail topics that they will never touch. For example, the stolen election.
Because they know if
Yes.
they address those subjects, they're going to lose their Patreon account, they'll
Yep.
lose their PayPal account, they'll be debanked, they'll lose
Yep.
their YouTube channel, and they're never going to do that.
Exactly.
So those people, the ones we're talking about, they're all on YouTube. They never got taken down by Twitter. They all have Patreon accounts. They all can do all this stuff because they know there are certain subjects they cannot talk about.
Yeah.
And the truth tellers in our community have all been debanked. We've all had our platform shut down. We've all gone through the censorship regime, through the meat grinder. And that's actually kind of a litmus test where you can tell, what is someone's allegiance. If they've been deplatformed and debanked by just about everybody, not exclusively, but there's a lot of good people that I know and I trust that they're willing to speak the truth on these issues and no holds barred.
Yep.
And they have lost a lot of accounts and put up with a lot of attacks and harassment from the mainstream media because they've taken these stands. And that's one way you can tell people who are willing to tell you the truth, regardless of the consequences, versus people who will tell you a little bit of the truth, as long as it doesn't hurt their standing on social media and with Bank of America and all those other people. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's well. And then that brings us to another point, which is that you're going to get opportunists coming in, especially if Q starts posting again. There are people.
I've already had dreams about it.
Yeah, there are people who are going to come out of nowhere, and they'll have 200,000-300,000 followers on Twitter almost overnight. They've got big YouTube channels. They're doing decodes. They're talking about inside intel, insider information. Be very wary of those things. If they're telling you things like so-and-so has been executed and so-and-so is at Gitmo, like just use discernment, pray for wisdom. I know of, like, I can count the trustworthy Anon accounts on less than one, maybe 1.5 hands. But yeah, tell us about your dreams.
Oh yeah, I've had some dreams in the last couple of weeks where the Johnny Come Latelys are showing up, and there's a lot of social media buzz about a certain subject. And the Johnny Come Latelys come in and pretend like they know everything there is to know about the subject, and they've only been involved in it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There's going to be people coming in. There always are. Whenever some issue becomes a big issue, there's all these people going to come in, and they're going to want to distract people off of the subject,
Yeah.
get them talking about something else. Some of them are in it for money. Some of them are in it. There's a lot of these people that are literally being funded by
Yeah.
the CIA. They have big YouTube accounts, they have big Twitter accounts, and they're literally being funded by the CIA. And their purpose is to put out disinformation into the community. So we're all looking at all these other stupid
Yeah.
directions other than what we're supposed to be focusing on.
Yep, exactly. So just be aware of that. And, the other thing I'll say too is that I've seen this with some of the whistleblowers that have come out of certain agencies. They're very, very, or not just them, but like, I'm sorry.
This is
I
me
mean,
zipping my mouth.
I'm probably going to get you and Don Jr.
Yeah.
thought
I'll
bubbles.
exercise extreme
Don't
self-control
let
on this
my
issue.
thought bubbles come out.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that there are people who emerge in the information space who are very, very smart in one or two areas. Medical, intel, certain things.
Law.
They're highly intelligent in one or two areas, and then they start venturing off into other lanes, including, how to interpret Trump. And 99% of the time they're wrong. And
Right.
because they have a big platform with a lot of followers, they just start spouting off, and it's disappointing. But they have big egos. So if you call them out on it, they're going to block you. So that's a good sign that they're not actually in the lane they should be in, that they've strayed from their lane of expertise.
Yes. Apparently they don't know the big bowling. The main rule in bowling is stay in your lane, right?
Yeah.
And some of these people just can't stay in their lane. They
Yeah.
have medical expertise, they have legal expertise, and that's not enough. They have to go wandering into all these other areas where they haven't done any research, don't know what's
Yeah.
going on, and
Yeah.
weighing in on all this other stuff, and they just muddy the water. That's all they do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So I think I don't know how we veered off into this, but I think it's
Who
valuable.
knows?
I think it's valuable because we are entering a new season,
We
and
are.
it
We are.
started with kind of giving a little bit of a primer of how to interpret Trump, how to handle him, how to handle the people that think they know everything. And I don't even pretend to know everything, and I think I'm pretty good about recognizing and acknowledging when something is not my lane. I mean, people come to me all the time. Why don't you talk about this? Why don't you interview this? Because no, that's
Yeah.
not my lane.
I get emails all the time and questions on live streams. People ask me, look, what is
Yeah.
your opinion on this? What's your view on that? And I'm like, look,
Don't have one.
I don't have one. God doesn't
Yeah.
talk to me about that. And
Yeah.
if God doesn't give me revelation on something, there's a very good likelihood I'm not going to talk about
Mhm.
it at all. Like vaccines, really good example. I have a medical background. I could be on
Mhm.
social media talking about vaccines if I wanted to. God
Mhm.
has not ever spoken to me about vaccines. I know it's an issue about which I am not authorized to speak on, so I
Yeah.
don't talk about it. And
Yeah.
that's just how I roll. If God has not authorized me to talk on an issue, I'm not going to talk about it.
Same.
Uh,
Yeah. Same. Yeah. And I like I said, I've had people approach me on a lot of like certain topics, and it's like I'm not going there unless God brings it into my sphere of attention. Uh, and I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like, for example, I don't comment on a lot of legal stuff because I don't have a legal background. I mean, I can give you the
right.
basics, but there's accounts out there that are very, very good at that, at breaking down legal. But you always have to take those people with a grain of salt, especially if they start opining on our guy. And now we've got like weather people out there, like jumping 4 lanes of traffic to start opining on politics. And like, okay, you're a meteorologist. Just do weather. Just do weather. We appreciate your weather analysis and breakdown. We do. But
Right.
like, what is it, that movie Hitch, where he teaches him how to dance? He's like, this is where you stay. You stay like in the box. Stay in the box right here. Don't stray from that box. Remember that when he's teaching the guy how to pick up the girl and how to dance.
I
And the
did not see
guy
it.
was like, okay, so the guy is like a mess and he's dancing like this. And the Will Smith character goes, no. He goes, watch me. This is where you stay. This is where you live. You live in the box right here. That's you.
Stay in your lane.
That's our advice to all these people. Stay in your lane.
And know, and have a little exercise, a little discernment, and know when you're listening to somebody and they're clearly talking about and giving an opinion on something they have no expertise, they haven't studied it. Just exercise discernment and realize, okay, this person probably doesn't really know the subject very well. And there's a lot of people, like Mary said, there's a lot of people who feel that because Trump is in office now and Trump is going to be the buzz on social media, someone who normally comments on law or medicine or some other field of expertise, whether now they have to come in and start talking about Trump and giving their opinions on Trump. And like, these are people who have never studied him, haven't watched any of his rallies, haven't read the executive orders, that really they haven't been paying attention. And now suddenly they're going to be experts. Just exercise discernment and find people who have been in the discussions on those subjects, know the relevant facts, and can provide good, solid, verifiable information. That's all.
Excellent. Oh, I have another tip. I have another one.
Of course.
Don't feed the trolls.
Do not feed the trolls.
Yeah. Just bless and block. Bless
them and block them and keep on going.
Yeah, because there are characters out there who are intentionally deployed to get your accounts taken down. And if they, I'm just saying that if you start engaging and going back and forth, not only does it mess with your account if you're trying to grow, especially on X, but it could get you shut down. I just keep that in mind, because they're going to report you. Like they're not there to have a conversation. They're there to destroy and to wreak havoc and to create drama and to distract you. So don't get into a back and forth. It's not worth it. And that's where protect your mind, control your emotions. That's where that comes in, because you can get very emotionally invested in going back and forth with somebody that you don't know, that may not even be a real person, or maybe sitting behind 87 cell phones in China. And before you know it, you've been arguing with them all day long. And then your account gets shut down and you wonder why. I'm just saying.
She's just saying.
Bless and block. I mean, those of us who've been in the trenches, we know. I mean, I got Millie and Christy over on Facebook. On Rumble. Michelle's over there too. They're all like digital warrior veterans. How many accounts have we been through collectively? I don't know. But those are just some things. And again, this is just this part of the show. This portion of the show is free. This is free advice. You can take it or leave it. If you want to, great. If you don't, if you want to waste time and be anxious and chase rabbit trails and give your attention to people that only want your attention and your money, you're free to do that. It's a free country. We're just trying to save you some time and energy and maybe money and anxiety, and help you to enjoy every minute of this beautiful golden age that we're going into. Yeah. So Dave, I think we probably are ready to
we've
sign
explored
off.
Everything we can explore for this episode, probably.
I think we can. Yeah, this was fun. I'm so happy. So happy.
Yeah,
so
me too. I'm glad we waited until after the election or after the inauguration.
Yeah, that was your idea. I was like, let's do another show. Well, let's wait.
Maybe we'll have something to report on after Trump is in office.
Yeah, he's going to keep us busy. There is going to be no shortage of things to report on. Yeah. So, okay, I think we're good. Dave, where can people follow you? How can they find your content? Let's put your book up one more time.
Put the book up, latest book. Q Chronicles Book 4 is now available on Amazon. It'll soon be available on Barnes & Noble and other outlets. If you want to contact me for prayer, I do accept prayer requests by email. That email is admin@prayingmedic.com. Or you can go to prayingmedic.com or prayingmedic.org, my two websites. There's a contact tab on those websites. Hit the contact tab, send me an email. If it's a question, I'll try to answer it. If it's not within my area of expertise, I'll tell you I don't know. And if it's a prayer request, I will get on it. And I expect you to give me a testimony when you're healed. So those are the primary places: prayingmedic.com, prayingmedic.org. I am very active on X/Twitter. My handle is @prayingmedic. That's it. And Telegram. I'm very active on Telegram. The account you're looking for is praying_medic. That's my main channel. Mary's going to get her phone here and show you.
I am, yeah.
Also, I have, I think, 10 different channels on Telegram that I run. There are channels on dream interpretation. There is a ham radio channel. There's a channel called Down the Hall where people just talk about random subjects of all kinds. There is a health and nutrition channel. You can check out all my channels on Telegram.
My Telegram is frozen.
That's all right. That's right.
I think everybody can find it. Yeah.
It's praying_medic. That's the channel that you're looking for.
And he's got a lot of followers over there. And you know,
over 100,000 followers.
And I want to tell everybody it's a little trickier on Telegram because it's hard to get verified over there. But there's very few verified accounts. But on Rumble, Dave and I are both verified. There's a little green triangle next to the name. That means that's who we are, who it says we are. If somebody is in the chat or messaging you or anything like that through Rumble, they always come in the chat after the fact and put these messages in there, and they're trying to sell you something. It's usually some kind of crypto, and they're dropping a Telegram account in there or an email address. Please just block them. That's not us. And they'll have names like Mary Grace Media Official or Official Mary Grace, or it's close enough that you think it might be that person, or they'll misspell the name slightly. Be aware of that, guys, because those are scammers. Don't click any of those links. That's important. Also, my Facebook account is verified. I have about 85,000 followers. If you see other Facebook accounts, it's not me. They'll take the same profile picture, the same header, all of that. Don't follow those pages. The same goes for Dave. My Twitter is @MaryGraceTV. Dave is @PrayingMedic. Be very, very careful about that.
And we do not have backup accounts. If you see a backup account, it's not us. Block them.
Right. Same thing on Truth Social. We're both verified on that. Most of the places where we post, we are verified accounts. Okay. And we're doing that for your protection. We don't want you to get scammed. We don't want you to get viruses on your computer or anything like that. We mostly communicate through our channels. I do send emails from marygracemedia.com. That's the only time you'll get anything in your inbox from me. So please be aware of that. It's super important. I think that's it. And we will come back and do more shows. We did mention early on that we're going to be doing some practice spaces on X, and we will, we're not going to announce those. Those are just kind of whenever we feel like it.
Yeah. If you happen to be on X when we go live and you happen to jump into the space We
Oh
might
yeah.
throw you a microphone. We might throw you a microphone, but it's going to be practice bringing up speakers, taking speakers down, troubleshooting the platform, and getting into a workflow. That's all we're going to be doing for a while on X as far as
Yes,
space.
yes, exactly. That's a good point. So if you are following, don't be afraid to raise your hand. There's a little request button on X in the spaces, and you can raise your hand, and then we will
We'll try to bring
we'll
you up
bring
as
you
a
up.
speaker.
I will, because I'm gonna be the admin. So I'll try to bring you up as a speaker, but that's part of the process. So if I mess up, have some grace. Just come back and put your hand up again because that's part of the learning process. Don't get mad if we kick you out by accident. It's all for practice. And the good thing
Well,
about
we
it
have
is,
to practice kicking people out too. So if you want to
oh, okay.
volunteer to get booted from our space, come on in.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And it's really good for people who are nervous. If you want to practice asking a question, you're not on video. So this is a good time to practice, and we'll try not to be mean to you if you're not a troll and you're just nervous. That's a good, just say, I'm nervous. I've never done this. I don't know if I'm doing it right. It's okay. That we want you to practice so that when the time comes for real Q&A for the Q drops, then we can get the information out to as many people as possible. That's the point. Education and empowerment for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you can follow me at marygracemedia.com, and you can find all of my social media at that location, marygracemedia.com. And here it is right here. You can get on the mailing list as well. If you go on that website and join the mailing list, you will get emails before we go live. If you could put info@marygracemedia.com in your contacts, it will, in your trusted contacts, that'll help keep it from going into spam. I can't guarantee that it works, but it's better than not having me in your contacts. info@marygracemedia.com. Go to the website, sign up for the mailing list, put that email address in your contacts so that you'll get the emails. I think that's it. Everybody, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, have a great day. Get outside, touch some grass, look at the sky, step away from the computer for a little while,
Make some
and
sourdough bread.
make some sourdough bread with your Italian or French unenriched flour. Now I'm going to do that. Um, and yeah, just enjoy.
Enjoy life. We're living in the
Enjoy.
golden age.
Yes, and take delight in what is sure to be some of the chaos. There will be chaos, but it's like controlled chaos. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Everybody have a great day. Thank you to my moderators over on Rumble, to Christy and Millie and Michelle. Really appreciate it. And yeah, that's awesome. You guys, you're amazing. I will be here soon with more shows. I do have at least one show coming up this week with a really good interview with somebody that's dialed into the Make America Healthy Again movement. That's on Tuesday. Can't remember what time. But anyway, get on the email list. You'll get a notice. Everybody have a great day. We'll be back. Mary Grace and Dave, Conspiracy of Truth. We will be back.